Yes, guys, you know what time it is. It's your boy David at the Irish Hotspur, Ireland's #1 Spurs fan. And today we bring you a pre-match build-up as Tottenham travel to Sporting Lisbon, and Spurs fans are eager to see us back in action after the postponement of the games at the weekend. As you can see, we are joined, of course, by co-host Jack Kanicki and regulars Philip and Kuva on these pre-match build-ups. Guys, if you're thinking I'm looking a bit low, my chair has just sort of broken and I don't have time to fix it, so I do apologise. I'm not actually a midget. I do have a small bit of height. But Jacko, how are you keeping, my man?
Keeping well, Dave. Everybody pray for David's chair and his posture today, especially during the watch along. He'll be jumping up and down over the camera. But wishing all the Spurs fans who have traveled to Lisbon a nice day out. Hopefully they get a nice performance, able to sit back, enjoy the nice city of Lisbon, as well as probably enjoy the nice atmosphere. I imagine it's a nice stadium. I imagine it's probably quite a calm, cool, kind of collected sort of Spurs group out there. They're probably not too tense or anything. I think they're going to have a nice day out. Hopefully the boys and the lads give them a good performance, because I feel like this away trip might not be as or will be probably a bit calmer than maybe going to Marseille or Frankfurt maybe. So hopefully they have a nice day out.
100%. Could not agree more. Big up Simon all the way down in the south of France. He says he can't watch the game because of Brexit, but he's in the south of France. Big up, Simon. I hope you're keeping well, my man. The Godfather, how are you keeping, my man? We missed you last week.
So I mean, sorry.
Yeah, the Godfather. You're the only one dubbed the Godfather.
Yeah, this should be a good game tonight. Good bit of competition. You know, first game away in Europe, and the fans are very lucky because Lisbon is an absolutely beautiful city. They'll be all sitting around the cafes now, drinking a beer and taking up the sunshine. So couldn't be in a better spot. But let's hope we leave the Lisbon fans very unhappy at about 7:30 tonight.
That'd be very nice. That's the aim anyway, for sure, Philip. That is the aim. Kuva, how are you keeping, my man?
I'm well. Despite the cancellation of the football over the weekend for obvious reasons. I thought we were going to be going without football for a little bit longer. So it's good that this one was kept on. Yeah, really looking forward to it. This is, as we said the last time on Champions League, this is what all the hard work was about last season, isn't it? Grabbing that 4th place so we can have nights like tonight. Yeah. Really pumped up for it. Looking forward to it.
Couldn't agree with you. I mean, I'm absolutely buzzing. I mean, Champions League nights is what it's all about, but it's just a struggle of getting there to the night time. You know, you're up at 9, 10 a.m. You have to wait all day for the game. It is a bit frustrating, but look, you know, I wouldn't trade these nights for absolutely nothing. Matt Doherty says, can I get a start now, please? Well, look, buddy, you're just going to have to do better when you play, my man. You know, you're going to have to learn to beat players and stuff like that. But look, I'll tell you what I'll do is I'll text Paratici and get in contact with Conte, and I'll let you know, my man. Big yourself up. We've got Lynchy616 in the house. Good to see you. Pierre Oji, great to see you, my man. Says top drawer panel, big up. Wolves Finland says Dave, Jack, Kuva, Philip, Spurs chat, good vibes. Really appreciate it, my man. Big up Jay Keaveney says the dream team, welcome back, Dave. Big up, Jay. I hope you're keeping well, my man. DTHSE till I say Dice says Davis Papa Smurf. Yeah, no, look, I'm not painted blue. I'm not quite Papa Smurf. I'm probably one of Snow White's 7 dwarfs, I would say right now, Dermo. But big yourself up, my man. We've also got Rob Ranganarson says Edmonds, big up, lad. We've got Robertson Goat Farm says will be great to see Edwards. Yeah, it will. Let's see how he's come along. We'll be talking about Edwards shortly. Mick Hanscombe says afternoon, chaps. Looking forward to tonight's game. Confident we'll get a result. Yeah, I'm feeling confident as well, my man, to be honest. Martin Walton says, evening lads,
big up,
good to catch a bit of the show, head out for a few beers, and then head to the stadium. Well, big up, my man. Head to the stadium.
Out in Lisbon. Our Spurs spy out in Lisbon, Dave. He's our Spurs spy out in Lisbon. Big up, Martin.
Big up, Martin. Enjoy yourself over there, my man. Big yourself up, lad. Make sure you get, what is it they're famous for? Like custard tarts or something like
custard
that.
Tarts, yeah.
I think he knows Lisbon very well, Dave. I think he's fluent. He'll be showing the Spurs fans all the good places after celebrating the night out. Big up, Martin.
Love it. Big up, Martin. Enjoy yourself down there, over there, buddy. The Danish Shade says 4 goats on the stream. Love to see it. Really appreciate that, my man. KM Hong says Conte won't rotate. He said he would have if the City match happened. Like to see rotations at Leicester. Well, that's something we'll get into as well, my man. Mark Weatherstone says, good afternoon, fellow Spurs fans. Big up, my man. Peter Kipp says, really don't want to see Sun start, unfortunately. Well, look, it's a hot talking point going on around the fan base right now. Hot Spurs says, great to see you back there. Big up, my man. I hope you're keeping well, lad. We've got the selective centrist says, Sun replaced Kulu. Stevie Fraser says, big up, everyone buzzing for today. Killian Gubbins in the house. Yes, Doherty, you can start. Big up, my man. Doherty's number one fan, this guy is. Tottenham THFC says, big up, 3 points today. Really appreciate that, my man. Everybody, make sure you keep getting your comments in the chat as we start discussing today's game. Also, feel free to smash that like button, smash that subscribe button. Greatly helps myself and Jack out. We're only about 15 away. Actually, not only about, exactly 15 away from reaching 8K. Let's see if we can get the job done today, like Tottenham this evening. And feel free to get a super chat in with your thoughts or anything like that. Basically, highlights your chat, skips you to the very bottom of the queue. We'll get straight to it and have a conversation and a discussion on your talking point. And it's a great way to support everything we are trying to do here. But guys, as you know, Tottenham are away in the Champions League this evening. Arsenal fans cannot say that. We're away at the Estadio Jose Alvalade. Great pronunciation, great bit of Portuguese there from me. I'm now like Eric Dyer. I am multi-bilingual. Kickoff is at 5:45 p.m. Huh?
Multi-bilingual.
Bilingual, sorry. Yeah, multi, because I can speak Irish, now Portuguese, German, bit of French, bit of English. You know, I've got all the languages. It now qualifies me to play centre-back as a leader. Referee is Sardan Jovanovic. Jack will like him. He's another itch. He is from Serbia. And then in the VAR room, I mean, Paratici and Conte have just called in the boys. And we've got Paolo Valeri from Italy, so hopefully he'll be of good hand to us tonight. And if you want to watch the game, it is on BT Sport or on Paramount Plus in the USA. And you can also turn down your commentary, join us back here for the watch along starting at 5:15 p.m. this evening as kickoff is at 5:45. Now, team news, the only bit for Tottenham is Lucas Moura is still out with inflammation in his tendon. He was absent from yesterday's training, and Conte also confirmed he is not available. While Sporting Lisbon have a number of issues in defence, Jeremiah St. Juste is absent, while Gonçalo Inácio and Luis Neto are both doubts after limping off in their 4-0 victory over Portimonense over the weekend. And Giovanni Cabral and Daniel Bragança are also injured. I mean, what a pronunciation on that. I mean, I'm just bossing it today. But Jacko, many fans were disappointed with Tottenham's performance versus Marseille, where we struggled for large periods of the game. And we did only, if we're being honest, we only gained control when Chancellor Mbemba was sent off. Now, with having 6 days of rest and preparation, should we expect to see us turn in a much more convincing performance tonight, given that we're heading into tonight's game?
I think yes for a lot of reasons. I'll probably start with the one that I was talking about yesterday on the fan show, Dave, which is the fact that I feel like Marseille is probably the team that is going to be our toughest test. They are the team that I think is going to be the most well-versed on sort of Conte's tactics. I think that guy Igor Tudor is sort of very well versed in Italian football. I think he was a manager of Verona as well as Udinese. And then at one stage, I think he was even a player alongside Antonio Conte, or was like an assistant manager or something, was in some way like working at the same club as Antonio Conte at one stage. So this guy, you could say, was probably more well prepared than any of the other managers in this group coming up against the world-class manager of Conte. And he actually has probably the most informed team in the case of Marseille. They're actually, I think, level with PSG right now, which is probably a bit unexpected, shows that they're definitely giving them at least a fight. Whereas with Sporting, Dave, I feel like they've sort of fell off a bit. I think they were league champions about 2 seasons ago when they had maybe their full kind of team. I think they've lost basically their best players since then. They lost that Mateus Nunes. They lost, I believe, as well as Joao Palhinha, who's their, Fulham now midfielder. Nunes went to Wolves. I think pretty much the only remaining players. I think they also lost their left wing back, and I think a few more. It's just, I don't know, Dave. It's just not the same Sporting team that won the league. They even got kind of absolutely pounced against Man City once they got to the group stages last season. I just feel like the Sporting team, while probably have a good attack, I feel like they're I don't know. I think they're probably a bit leakier, not as well drilled, just nowhere near as good of a squad, I think, as the Marseille team. I think the Marseille team was secretly like a good squad, a good manager, a good, well-drilled team. Whereas with Sporting, no disrespect to them, but I just don't think they're as good as Marseille. So I actually think Marseille was going to be a tougher test for us, whereas Sporting, while maybe giving Frankfurt a very humbling 3-0, I have a weird suspicion Sporting will be a lot easier for us. And all those injuries you mentioned, Dave, I mean, that was a long list. How many players do they have left?
Probably not a lot. Probably good dipping into the under 21s like we were last season, I'd say, Jacko. But Philip, even though Sporting are winless in all 6 of their Champions League matches against English opposition, they head into tonight's game on form, despite what Jack is saying. And we have looked into the form. Like the last few games, they've sort of clawed it back, but they were in bad form before that. But in the last 3, they've basically won their last 3, keeping 3 clean sheets and scoring 9 goals in the process. And we memorably fell to a 1-0 loss, unexpected loss out in Portugal against Pacos de Ferreira in Europa Conference League qualifiers last time. Is there potential for an upset here tonight by Sporting, do you think?
Oh, there is, yeah. I mean, Sporting are one of the big 3 in Portugal. Benfica themselves and Porto. And they've always lived pretty much in Benfica's shadow, although they have won an awful lot of trophies. But I think that's more to do with maybe the weakness of the rest of the league. It's a bit like the Scottish League, that, 2 or 3 teams, 2 teams in Scotland dominate the whole time. They beat Frankfurt very easy last week, but I think UEFA are going to realize you don't put a team like Eintracht Frankfurt in pot 1 just because they won the Europa Cup. If they had qualified through the league, Frankfurt would have probably gone in pot 3 or 4. So from our point of view, that's great because we could have had Barcelona or PSG or something in that group, but we haven't. We're lucky enough. Sporting tonight will be difficult because this is going to be a real big match for them and their fans. Yeah. Probably the biggest team to come to their place is Manchester City. Of course, we're bigger than Manchester City in history-wise anyway. So it will be difficult. And the fact that they have, which we won't mention now, I'm sure it'll come up later on, they've got a little matter of an ex-Spurs player in their ranks who is pulling up trees for them at the moment. So that's going to be difficult. We're going to have to be on our ball tonight and play an awful lot more positively than we did against Marseille. Because I think if you sit back against a team like Lisbon on their home patch, they could punish us. I'm hoping they won't, but we need to be careful.
For me, I want to avoid conceding the first goal tonight because they will play very similar to us. And if they get that first goal, they'll just pass it around the back line, waiting for us to come out and press them and then look to play through us. They kind of done that to Frankfurt when they played them the other day. So for me, it's all about us not conceding the first goal whatsoever. Bob Spur TV, member for 18 months. Yep. Big up, Bob. Hope you're keeping well, my man. Caught a bit of your show earlier on. Disappointed you left out the old Dairy Milk Caramello bar. I wasn't too best pleased now, Bob. But he says, big up, you beautifully average-looking people. Well, I'm short today, Bob. My chair's broken. He says, I would love our performance as well as a result later. Winning while playing badly. We need to change that. And we'll throw that to you, Kuva. I mean, do you think that basically off the back of what Bobby's saying, do you think we still have a point to prove on the European stage tonight in terms of performances? Because we were not convincing versus Marseille.
Yeah, I think we definitely need to put in a few performances where we actually dominate it, and it never looks in doubt. Trouble is, this is the sort of game where you can have those banana skins because although Philip was saying about, obviously we've avoided drawing the likes of Barcelona on our group, I'd have loved to have had Barcelona in our group. There's one thing that does automatically. It makes you put on your A game. You know what you're getting when you play Barcelona. You know what to expect. When it's like all respect to Sporting Lisbon, but they are not on that sort of plateau, are they? So you can sometimes get a sense of false confidence that we're going into the game. Then you come up against a well-managed and technically gifted set of players with something to prove. You can really come unstuck, especially playing away from home. So, yeah, Philip's quite right. You've got to be on guard against this. You've got to really be on your A game, doing the basics right to start with, and then build on the rest of it. If we go a bit gung ho, we're going to come unstuck. If we go too negatively, it could encourage them too much. They could dominate the game. They might thrive on that. It's going to be interesting to see how it goes because we have literally never played them before in competitive football. So it's new waters. Let's see what we can do. And as mentioned earlier, it's a nice city to go to if you're planning to get to the game anyway. Then I'm envious. So, nice little trip, that one.
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's just going to be a fun occasion again. It's there's something about this Champions League this season. I'll just feel something good about it. I feel like we're going to progress. I feel like we're going to start turning things around. Conte's got a point to prove in Europe as well, hasn't he? So let's tie it all up in one season. Just have a great one.
Do you know what? For me, I can get the concerns about maybe some of the performances, but at the end of the day, when I look at it, we're set up very, very hard to beat, which is always going to be the case with some of the backline we have until we rotate a bit more. But we also have the quality players in the forward line to take whatever chances we do create. Now, what I will say is I think when you see that front three probably click a bit more together, I think you'll see a much more improved Tottenham, because when we are getting that ball to the front line, especially against Marseille, I thought we were maybe over eager to impress, where we were trying all these little 1-2s, flicks around the corner and nothing was coming off. But in the second half, we took our time, built it up, got bodies forward, got balls out wide and got it in the box, and it worked for us. So I do think, once we can get that front three to start clicking, I think you will see a much, much more improved Tottenham, in my opinion. Ken Wiggle says, when are we going to see Skip? Look, I'm all for it, my man, but I think he's just going to have to bide his time and wait, to be honest with you. Højbjerg and Bentancur are playing for me, some good stuff in the middle. They've picked up a very good partnership. Bentancur sits in the middle. Højbjerg's allowed to go roam around, get forward, etc. While Bentancur sits there to be the one to progresses the ball. I don't think Conte wants to break that up yet. So he's just going to have to be patient, my man. Big yourself up. Big up, Lisa. She's always in here. Says, big up, gentlemen. Best way to start my day with the Irish build-up. Come on, you Spurs. Absolutely. Big up, Lisa. We've got Adrian Chia. Big up, Adrian Chia. Good to see you in the building. He says, big up, lads. Saw Lisbon, tore Frankfurt. It's not going to be easy. Edwards looked like a handful together with a couple of other players. Big test for us. Come on, you Spurs. Jack, we'll give that one to you. And what I also want to know is, look, I get everyone's going to say it's a tough game, and especially with our front line not clicking, it's going to be a bit harder tonight. But the reality is, we actually head into this game looking to go 8 unbeaten across all competitions.
Yeah.
And we have won 4 out of the last 5. Should we actually be heading into tonight's game full of confidence, regardless of the performances we are seeing, and regardless of Lisbon beating Frankfurt, like Adrian Cheese says here?
Yeah, I fully understand going into this game a bit skeptical that Spurs should be, tearing apart Sporting. I fully understand, because we are Spurs fans and we've seen us go in maybe fully, overconfident in the past and get burned. At the same time, like what you just said, Dave, I think what we also have to get used to is the fact that this team has continued to find a way to grind out results, regardless of even if they're playing that well in the first place, but they continue to grind out results, and they don't really bottle it, kind of like they did in previous seasons under the case of Jose, or under the case of Nuno, or even Poch, to a certain extent at certain moments. It's just a very different team with how I think they handle these sort of fixtures. They handle it, I think, much more like professionals. They handle it much more kind of like a bit more ruthlessly, a bit more tactically, you could say. They don't really care about how the game always goes, as long as the 3 points are in the bag. And that's where I'm kind of going into games like this a bit more confident, to be fair. And I understand, Adrian, the Sporting did look really good against Frankfurt. I'll be honest, my feeling is, despite how much I love watching the Bundesliga, the reason I do love watching it is sometimes because those defenses, I think, are pretty atrocious at times and can be absolutely torn apart. But then again, Edwards did look quite tricky. And I did say that in the beginning of, I think, our first answer there, to your first question, Dave, where I do think that front three will be tricky. Don't get me wrong. I think Trincao, Edwards, as well as Gonçalves, certainly all 3 of those are very, very good players. But I just feel like the rest of that team I'm not really too afraid of, or the rest of that team I'm not exactly thinking that Spurs should have too much problem with. And it's not just a front three that's the team for Sporting. You're going to have to take into consideration that Spurs will also have the ball and Spurs will also cause them some problems as well. So I just am actually going into this a bit more maybe overconfident, and maybe I am a bit overconfident, but something I'm not usually, I could say, for once, Dave. I'm actually going into this one thinking it won't be a huge test. I think we actually should win this one comfortably. I'm not saying 3-0, 4-0 or anything, but I think it could be like a 2-0 like Marseille, but a whole lot more comfortable.
Look, I agree. I look at that Frankfurt team. It's nowhere near the levels it was last season when it won the Europa League. Some of the best players have been pulled apart. So, I don't think Frankfurt are as good as everybody says they are. And I'm not surprised Sporting bet them. I think they're probably on a similar level. But for me, I don't see why we shouldn't be heading out there with full of confidence tonight. We're unbeaten this season. We have to remember that. We're unbeaten. When can we say that at this stage of the season, especially with Champions League? So for me, we should be going in full of confidence and not the underdog. But Philip, we'll take the second part of Adrian Chia's super chat, and he says, Edwards looked like a handful together with a couple of other players from Sporting. Now, Marcus Edwards was a guy that was once dubbed as a wonder kid coming through at Tottenham. And yet, despite comparisons to Lionel Messi from Pochettino, we still let him leave to go to Portugal to Vitória de Guimarães before he signed for Sporting this January. Now, Edwards did score an assist and ran the show against Frankfurt. He's got tidy footwork. He's got very direct dribbling as well. Is he their biggest danger man today, Philip, knowing that he has a point to prove against Tottenham tonight?
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously, when you're playing against your former team, and one that he may have certain, I won't say grudges against, but certain regrets the way things turned out for him at Tottenham. Yes, it's always going to be dangerous, and he's a tasty little player. He plays between the lines very well. And but I would like to turn that question around a bit and more or less say we shouldn't be worried about Marcus Edwards. They should be worried about our front three, because I don't think they will have faced anything like this.
That's what I'm trying to say.
Any of the matches they've played so far this season. I mean, they could be in for a very rude awakening. So we might be in a situation where Marcus Edwards is a bit part player today because our boys will dominate their defense and hopefully give us a comfortable win. But that being said, I mean, I am always wary of players coming up against their former clubs. They do have that extra initiative, an extra pump to do something to make them feel better, about their time at Tottenham. And I'm hoping that Edwards comes up against our midfield like Højbjerg and Betancourt or whatever, and that they nullify him. And I think they will, because I think he might be good, but they're better. So I think we shouldn't really have a great deal of problems tonight, hopefully. My only worry is, as David said, conceding the first goal and giving them the initiative. Then the crowd really gets on their side, and it could be difficult. I think we need to get out there early, quieten the crowd, and then do the job. Hate them.
Couldn't agree more. I could not agree more with that. Marcus Edwards, he's one that I really would hope that came true. But look, for whatever reasons, he wasn't given first team opportunities. Apparently, there was some, attitude problems there and whatever else. But, at the end of the day, I wish the kid the best of luck, and hopefully we get to see him back at Tottenham Hotspur at some stage if he warrants it. But Kuva, Adrian says it's a big test here for us today. But is today all about, because as I said, someone's always got to go. Is today all about taking control of the group? Sporting are on 3 in first place. We're in second place on 3 points. So is today about taking control of the group and beating Sporting, even though it is a tough test?
Absolutely. So it's all about winning your home matches and then picking up some points on the road, make it easy for yourself. If we can win today, it goes a huge step to qualification, because we'll still have 2 home games to play and we'll already have 6 points on the board. So the sooner you can get those, get over the finish line on this sort of thing, the better. We were just talking about it earlier on the Bob Spurs TV. If you win the first 4, how lovely it would be to have the last 2 games where you can just rest players, bring in some, the group's won already. Fantastic place to be in. I just thought before we go off the subject, though, you're naughty to bring up that Pochettino reference with Marcus Edwards.
It's true, though.
But he was only referencing the low center of gravity and the quick footwork. I don't think you can say he's comparing him skill-wise.
Sort of.
Nah, that's a bit unfair. But it's fun, though, isn't it? We certainly held him in high regard when he was with us, that's for sure. But how many times do we do this? So, and then a player doesn't really make it. I'm glad to see somebody's actually gone from the club and doing well for themselves for a change, rather than just waste of a career. So I think Philip's also right to bring up that they've got to worry about our forwards. We might be a bit concerned about they've got a bit of trickery, a bit of a nuisance their forwards can be, but it's all about who's controlling the game enough to supply your forwards with the chances. Because if it's an even split, we're going to come out on top on that, surely. I mean, we're talking Harry Kane, Son Heung-min, Richarlison is on form at the moment, and Kulusevski to add to it. Yeah, we've got enough there, haven't we? Let's see if we can put them away with a bit more ease than it could be. That's it. End of the day, we've got it on paper. It's on grass we sometimes struggle, isn't it?
That's the truth. That's the truth. I couldn't agree more with Philip, with yourself and Philip. Though I think they should be more worried about our forwards than what we are about theirs. But look, all three of their front line, in fairness, they do have a point to prove. Like Trincao was on loan at Wolves last season, now finds himself at Sporting. Gonçalves, he was at Wolves, and now he's at Sporting. And then you've got Marcus Edwards, who was at Tottenham, now at Sporting. So these guys have a massive, massive point to prove. And they do like coming up against the big boys. They played well. They played Arsenal not so in most recent years, and they've done well enough there as well. So, I do think we have to look out for them. And I'll talk a bit. We'll get into it a bit later on. But I'll be worried about them if they get a run at our back line tonight. I really would with how quick and tricky they are.
Yeah, I think there's something else to take into consideration. Their manager, although he's looking really talented and inventive, he's only 37. It's barely older than Hugo. So I mean, how much experience does he really bring to them when they're put under the pressure? Yeah, it's all well and good in Portugal playing against some. Let's face it, a lesser league, isn't it? Apart from those big three, really.
Reportedly, this guy was interviewed for the Chelsea job before Harry Potter got this manager.
Yeah. Well, he's done well.
I think when he won the league, it was quite impressive, if I recall, because it had been traded back and forth between Porto and Benfica for a while, and him winning the league sort of came out of nowhere. He won it quite convincingly, if I recall, as well, and made do with a bunch of players that aren't exactly well-known players either. So I think Kuba's right; he is actually a good manager, but at the same time, quite unexperienced.
One thing I'd be a bit wary of is 2 words. Just want to say this. Our last trip to Portugal, Paco Pereira.
Yeah.
Didn't do well. So hopefully that will be drummed into the lads today before they go out on the pitch. Don't take this for granted. It's a Portuguese team. They mightn't be as good as us, but they're on home ground. And look what happened to us the last time we were here.
Yeah.
I suppose the obvious way to counter that would be, let's think about the team we put out that evening.
Well, that's true. That's true.
Yeah, we had a lot of the academy players coming through at that point. I think we might have beaten that Galini in goal on that game, if I remember rightly.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, well, we took that game for granted, I think.
I remember it. They targeted Harry Wicks in the midfield, took the ball off him, ran up the other end and scored, and then watched our defence pass it around for 45 minutes, across the back line again. Same problems as we're still seeing. Guess why? Because it's the same players. But anyway, don't get me started on them today. Bronstead says, have you guys seen the Pacos de Ferreira tweet that was basically saying Tottenham isn't that hard to win to motivate Sporting? Well, what I'll say to that is they still got knocked out by us, so I don't know what they're crowing and talking about. Yeah, they bet us at home, but it was 2-legged affair. Look, I don't know. I don't know.
I think, to be fair, it's still a proud moment for them, isn't it, beating Spurs? It's a big name.
I'd call it a bit of like pre-ejaculation, you know what I mean? It's 2-legged affair, not one, it's like, honestly, don't take a swipe at us when we knocked you out. I mean, Jesus Christ, seriously, it's absolute joke. But at the end of the day, when Ferreira rush here making fun of us, that's what happened over the last few years. Now we're on a revenge mission all around Europe to put that sort of shit right. It has to be done. Big up Adrian Chia, brother. Really appreciate the support. Jacko, last match, Spurs came up against a well-coached and a well-drilled Marseille team that lined up with a back three and packed the midfield. Now, Sporting will also likely line up with a back three today and pack the midfield. Spurs have struggled with teams that set up that way in the past. Both of our goals against Marseille, though, were headers from crosses. Do Tottenham now have a blueprint going forward on how to beat teams that employ this system against us?
Yeah, that's an interesting point, because while we probably broke down Marseille, I think in the first half quite well, you mentioned this before, Dave, where we kept going for kind of flicks and tricks that just weren't really able to be pulled off. And we sort of had to resort to kind of deep crosses from outside the box towards the end of the second half. And they were working for us, one from Højbjerg, and I believe the other from Perisic, if I recall. And Richie was thankfully able to put both away with thundering headers. But I think that's a good point. Perhaps the blueprint, though, Dave, would be to take off Emerson if we run into that situation again like we did. Because what we did is, I believe we put on Kulusevski, kept Richarlison, kept Sonny, kept Kane, and put Kulusevski, if I recall, as sort of a right wing back, which I think did help us out. I think obviously having the 10 men for Marseille certainly benefits that sort of decision. You probably should take Emerson off if they do have 10 men, because you do have him on for more defensive reasons anyway. So you don't really need him, you could say. So Kulusevski probably was an excellent decision, actually. And probably Conte is even criticized for his substitutions in certain moments. But that was, I think, a really clever one to take off Emerson and use those crossing situations against the back three, like you said, Dave.
Glenn Hodd was impressed with that substitution. I'm going to touch on that point a little bit later on, but basically
that's one of the answers, though. I think that's one of the answers. That was one of the whatever word, that very smart word you use, one of the solutions to that back three issue.
Yeah, and this is something I was saying last season as well, Jacko and lads, that against these teams that block up the middle, the only way to play against them is go out wide, go in and around them, and get balls out wide, get the balls into the box. And this year with Perisic down that side, and we've seen him do it a couple of times already. Like, the guy already has 3 assists to his name, and then bringing in Richarlison. We now have players that are capable of winning us games like that. If we didn't have Richarlison in that last game and Perisic, we probably wouldn't have got out there with a win, if I'm being honest. But sure. I think that probably highlights, maybe the signings being decent signings in that game. But it's definitely a blueprint that you got to use against these teams going forward. Look, last year you might have said, look, the options out wide weren't there last season, but this year they're definitely there for sure. Philip, do you think Tottenham should employ this blueprint from the start tonight against Sporting if they're going to set the same way and just get at them nice and early?
Yeah, I mean, as you said, the space is going to come down the flanks. We have especially Perisic, whose crossing ability now has shown that one of the reasons we bought him. I mean, that cross for the first goal on Wednesday was on the money, right on the money. Yeah, I think so. As you said, Kulusevski was very impressive when he came on in an unfamiliar position, but he was still able to cause havoc up that right wing and push Marseille back. So yeah, although I think Conte, being a conservative manager, will probably more or less start the way he started against Marseille, see how the game's going, and then possibly change it. Let's hope he doesn't have to change it, that we're in charge of the game from minute one. But at least we have the options. We have the options now to switch it around and to mix it up and beat that high density midfield, if you like. Yeah. I'm just wondering though, would if he was making a change, would he bring Doherty on, or would he do Kulusevski again? I don't know. I don't know.
Let me ask you, what do you think is going on with Matt Doherty? Because over the left-hand side, Philip, Conte has actually rotated very frequently. But over the right side, Emerson has played every game. Even when he took him off the other day, he brought on Kulusevski. Now, look, that decision could have been influenced to the fact they were down to 10 men and, you could afford to get on that extra body. But what do you think is going on with Matt Doherty at the minute with Conte? Because he's not getting any influence.
Maybe Conte just doesn't fancy him. It could be that. Maybe we don't see what's going on in training. Maybe he's not a good trainer. Maybe he doesn't do what he's told. You just don't know. It's very hard to come up with something like that. Like, I think we're probably all quite surprised that both Doherty and Emerson are still at the club after the transfer window. I think we have expected at least one of them to go. The fact that they're still there means there's still hope for Doherty. But whatever he's doing, he needs to do more of it to impress Conte to get back into the team. I mean, I would love to see Doherty playing. I mean, as an Irishman, I love to see the Irish guys getting games. But let's face it, but Emerson has done really nothing wrong to make Conte drop him. Which is quite a surprise given the lashings he was taking last year from us. You know,
you're going to set Kuva off, Philip. So yeah, you're going to set Kuva off.
Killian as well. Killian, you got the biggest Doherty fan. Yeah.
Killian, let me know in the chat, what do you think is going wrong for Doherty so far this season? Because even in pre-season, he was being played at left wing back. Didn't see any minutes at right wing back. So Killian, you're Doherty's #1 fan. So let me know, my man. Let me know. But it'd be interesting to see what he does with Doherty, because look, we have to remember he wasn't a part of his plans when he first came in, and then he just had to utilize him, and Doherty took the chance. So be interested to know what's going on there.
Didn't Doherty pick up a recurrence of the injury in pre-season, or at least
he did. Yeah.
I think it's a fitness issue. I just don't think he's quite back to full sharpness yet, and Conte won't pick a player if he thinks they're under par physically.
Very true.
Unless it's the likes of Hugo or Harry Kane, maybe. Yeah, so I think it's a long season ahead. He's just managing fitness levels and fatigue as best he can. That's why he alluded to rotating if the Man City game had gone ahead.
Yeah.
Well, we'll get to rotation very, very shortly, because Conte's words have been taken in both ways by the fan base, so it'll be interesting to see where the panel sit on it. But Adrian G says your guys' positivity is infectious. Now I feel better. Absolutely love that, my man. Look, whatever was weighing you down, at the end of the day, my man, just forget about it. Move on. Tomorrow's another day. The next minute is always a new minute, my man. So don't let things be weighing you down. Smack a smile on your face, brother. Tottenham are on tonight, and we're going to win.
Big up, Adrian.
Good to see you, my man. Hopefully you're doing all right. Young Il Choi. Absolutely love that name. That rolled off my tongue. I'm on fire today. He says, where's the official starting lineup? It's not out till an hour before the kickoff, my man. So don't worry. As soon as it's out, we will get, I'll be on We're Tottenham TV at that stage, but we will get to it. Killian Goodwin says, I have heard Doherty had a great attitude even when he doesn't get picked yet. Conte did say that, and that's why he ended up giving him another chance, and he took it. I think it's fitness too, but I think he's ready for tonight, and Emerson has been doing okay too. Fair point, Killian. Absolutely fair point, my man. Stevie Fraser says, Doherty has only ever had 5 half-decent games for us in 3 years. Why does everyone talk like he's a baller? He can't defend. Yeah, look, even though I'm an Irishman, I know Philip's probably going to be angry at me after, but I kind of agree with this, if I'm being honest. Look, I'm not his biggest fan. I'll be honest, I don't even want him to play a right wing back for Ireland. So that's where I'm at with Doherty at this stage. I think too much of Doherty over the last few years just frustrated me. Rob Belcher says you'll probably come on to this. Conte in his press conference interview has again, as I see it, given negativity to our dealings in the latest transfer window. What do you mean by that, Rob? Let me know, my man. Maybe expand a bit more in the comments. Anyone else know?
I don't know what quote he's referring to. Maybe in the press conference. Kuva, do you happen to know?
No, I haven't listened to it properly. I've only heard a tiny little bit so far.
I listened to it in the background while doing dishes. I did not hear any maybe secret transfer sort of underhanded comments or anything, but I could have been completely missed it. Maybe
it might be to do with squad depth and the need to rotate if all the matches were being played. I don't know.
Maybe
I think Philip knows.
No, I only saw a bit of his press conference when he was talking about the Queen and going to Buckingham Palace on Friday evening and that. But I'd say he's probably hinting at maybe Conte was less than 100% satisfied with the transfer window. Maybe that's it. The fact that we did not get our centre back in. But if he did say it, it certainly wasn't said directly. It was kind of implied more than, you can read what you like out of this. But listen, what we've got now is what we have to do with till next July. So you have to suck it up and take it on the chin.
100%. Donovan's gone for Eric Dyer 28-1 for a header tonight. I think Moondog will probably be joining you, my man. I'm trying to steer him away from Dyer bets.
Højbjerg, he's the new bat, isn't he, for our scoring?
There's always a sneaky chance with Pierre. Killian Goodwin says, will Dyer make the England squad? I would say by default of Maguire and all, probably, falling down the pecking order. But I think he'll definitely make it, my man. Big yourself up. But look, we will keep on moving. Plenty of talking points today. Now, the next one I do want to get into. Just let me catch up where I am. So it's the officiating, actually, from the last game. Now, it was absolutely fucking atrocious. That referee must have thought he was managing basketball, a non-contact sport. Absolutely ridiculous. And tonight, Tottenham do have a physical superiority over Sporting. We're the taller team. We've got more physically strong players than them as squad. How important is it tonight, Kuva, not to get caught up with the ref and become frustrated if decisions don't go our way?
Well, personally, I'm of the Brian Clough sort of mold here. When I think about referees, you do not argue with referees. You just get on with the game. The only person that speaks to them is the captain, as it should be. That's why you need your captain out on the pitch, not in goal. I think it's a respect thing. I hate seeing players getting in the ref's face about it. If we're going to have bad decisions go against us, take it on the chin. Just do what you do on the football pitch. If you're going to get robbed of something, you're going to get robbed. So just do our part, play the game properly, play to plan, do all the basics properly. Shouldn't even have to come down to controversial decisions then. Should be able to put the game away without that.
Sounds like you're a fan of the Sir then, Kuva.
Yeah.
That referee last week, I mean, he sent off the Marseille player after 57 minutes and spent the next 35 minutes trying to level it up by giving in everything that was going, you know. I mean, it was just a joke. But we've been very unlucky. We've been very unlucky with the refereeing this. In nearly every game we played this season, maybe bar one, there's been the decisions that would appear now to have gone against us more than they've went for us, you know. Like the goal been disallowed, Richarlison's goal been disallowed against Fulham. Things like that. Okay, maybe it was offside, but the standard of refereeing in Britain at the moment is abysmal. I've never seen it as bad, really. Yeah. You know, we might have given out about the old boys and Mike Deans and this and the other. Bad and all as they were, at least you knew they were going to be bad. These new guys coming on now, you have no clue who they are, but they're proving to be just as inefficient and as incompetent as the guys they're replacing.
Mike Dean has laid a few Easter eggs of himself.
Oh, he has. He's laid a few eggs since he retired. I'm hoping this guy tonight, now being from Serbia, I think football in Serbia has got a physical aspect to it. He might let a little bit more go, you know, because you'll get away with things in the Premiership you won't get away with in Europe, and then vice versa. So hopefully tonight now we have a good referee. It will make a change.
I hope so, because I can't sit there for 90 minutes again giving out about a guy that thinks that's officiating in the wrong sport, if I'm being brutally honest. He was absolutely...
I think he was flexing his muscles in front of the camera at certain stages, Dave.
Honestly,
and,
he
showing his jawline and all that. He seemed
got
to be
that nervous. He got that nervous, Jacko, when the big moment came. He dropped the red card. You know, that's how much he wanted to be on the cameras. It was like, look, I don't blame him. He's from, Slovenia. It's probably the biggest stage he'll ever get on in his life. But Jesus Christ. And you could tell he was there for the cameras. The hair was perfect. You know what I mean? The jersey was pressed. The shorts were not a crease in it. Absolutely ridiculous. All I'm asking for is one decent official. Just one fair, decent official that when something's given one way, it's also given the other way. Or just and someone that's actually going to let the game flow. Realize that it's a physical sport. You know, it's absolutely ridiculous, some of the decisions. Honestly, nowadays you breathe on a player and he's rolling around on the ground. The referee's like, what's wrong with you? Oh, well, he had garlic chips last night. There's a smell of garlic off his breath. Okay, a free kick. It's absolutely fucking ridiculous. It can't keep continuing. Anyway, Kuvi, you any frustrations on the refereeing before we move on?
Therapy session.
I'm just wondering, referees becoming too dependent on VAR now? Are they thinking they just sort of coast through a game because if anything major happens, it'll get picked up anyway? In a way, it's taken away their sort of ability to just believe in themselves, make a harsh decision on the spot. I wonder if that's partly to do with it. It's hard to tell. It definitely seems to be a decline in the level of refereeing lately. Is it a coincidence? I don't know.
No, I think you all need to be retrained, to be honest with you. It's absolutely ridiculous. I think the only solution here is what Caveman says, bring back Kalina. I mean, that guy was the referees of all referees. Talk about having actual authority on the pitch, you know, players scared to talk to him. You know what I mean? Absolute legend of a play that was. Now, next thing I do want to get on to talking about, Jacko, is, and this is something I've seen, I think there's a lot of mistakes creeping into Hugo Lloris's game of late. The goal versus West Ham, look, you can blame Højbjerg, Basuma, Dyer all you want. It stemmed from Hugo Lloris thinking the game was already won and just nonchalantly fucking swinging about at a ball under no pressure and putting it out. I also, against Marseille, his kicking was absolutely, his distribution was awful. He punched the ball when it was only Emerson around him, when he should have caught it again.
True.
When you catch that, you relieve the pressure. When he punches it, he just puts us under more pressure. Are you worried about the recent mistakes coming into Hugo Lloris's performances, Jack?
No, I'm not. I'll be honest. I'm always worried about his ability with his feet. It's probably something I think I mentioned really early in the season, Dave. Like even in our Southampton pre-match buildup or whatever, I believe it was. I think I mentioned that. I just, with the way that Conte likes to play, he likes to use the goalkeeper as sort of like a back pass in order to get out of a bit of pressure, especially in the modern day Premier League, where teams do basically press you all the way to the goalkeeper. Now, you do need kind of a keeper that is a bit tidy on his feet. The thing is, though, Dave, is can I really get mad at Lloris about it? Or can I be frustrated? Yes. But can I get mad at Lloris for it? Maybe like we would at other players? I feel like you can't, because he's from that generation of keepers that really aren't good with their feet. You can't really name too many players of his age. I think, what is he, 36? I think 35. Of those players of that age, I don't think any of them are really that good with their feet. Maybe bar Manuel Neuer, I think, is the only one that is probably of that age bracket that's actually good with his feet. So it's kind of just that generation. They were all taught to be exceptional shot stoppers. I think Hugo still is an exceptional shot stopper, regardless of maybe a few of his spills and some of his parries maybe not being, done very well. But I think I have still confidence in the shot stopping, Dave. But I'll be honest, I think we all know that he is a bit sketchy sometimes with his feet, but I don't know how much I can really get mad at him for it. We just know that it is something that is in his game, and he can't get rid of it. It's too late.
I think his distribution, I think you have a fair point on, Jack. I do. But, look, the one against West Ham bugs me. The punching the ball instead of catching it really bugs me. And the reason why it bugs me is because the ball in stages at the game where Tottenham are cruising. Tottenham are cruising. You're putting us
and
under pressure.
A captain.
You're supposed to be our captain. You're supposed to be the guy we turn to most, especially in the big moments of games. You're supposed to be the leader of men. You're supposed to be the one that stays switched on and holds other people accountable to standards. It concerns me a little, if I'm being honest. But I agree with. I fully agree with your point on the distribution. I agree. Look, the guy's 34, 35 now. You can't teach an old dog new tricks, as the saying goes. But Philip, do you think we should be concerned that our captain, the one who is supposed to lead us, the one that's supposed to lead us and stand up in the biggest moments, he's the one that's actually showing signs of being a nervous wreck?
He's not a nervous wreck. I mean, ever since Hugo came to Spurs, his distributions have been atrocious. It always has been. I mean, that's a given. That's not going to change. But with Hugo Lloris, now I believe he's nominated for Player of the Month for August. So he's done something right. I know he gave the goal away against West Ham, but his shot stopping is brilliant. I mean, look at the 2 saves he made against Mitrovic in the Fulham game. It could have cost us a point if anyone else had been in goal. So no, I think as a goalkeeper doing the basics, he's still up there. He's still one of the best. His distribution is not going to change. I'm still closing my eyes every time he gets the ball at his feet. I've been doing that for the last 10 years.
Like penalties.
But no, I think he's a brilliant shot stopper, and I'm happy with him. Okay, they all make mistakes. All goalkeepers do. If he had the footballing ability of Alisson or whatever, he'd be untouchable. And the passing distribution, but he just doesn't have that. He can't have everything. So I'm happy with him. But that being said, I think next summer we're going to have to try and get someone like Dean Henderson in to replace him, because Hugo is coming to the end of his time at Tottenham. There's no doubt about that. But he's been a great servant to us, and long may it continue. Well, this season anyway. And let's see what happens next year when his replacement comes in.
Look, what concerns me a little bit, Kuva, is the fact he came out after Zagreb last season and he sort of like lamented the whole squad, this, that, and the other. But then in big moments this season, he's the one that's shown signs of nervousness, in my opinion. Philip disagrees. Philip, maybe nervous wreck was maybe a bit strong. But for me, I just think in some of the big moments, especially the West Ham game, he let us down. But yeah, he's the one that's coming out lamenting players after something like Zagreb last season. Does it concern you that maybe his fortunes have changed a little bit this season, where in the big moments, he's the one that needs to be lamented, because he's escaped criticism, in my opinion, over the last 2 games?
Yeah, I'm not really going to criticize Hugo. I have too much regard for him. I really not. When he starts letting balls through his soft shots through his legs and throwing the ball into his own net, then I'll start. But at the moment, let's just say he's an awful lot more on the plus side of things than he has on the minus.
I agree. But you know what the problem is, Philip? I'm a perfectionist and I expect perfection from all these guys all the time.
You're going to be sorely disappointed, David, because that doesn't happen.
Oh, no.
Yeah, well, unless you're Harry Kane, of course, Philip. Unless you're Big
That's
H.
another day's work. That's another day's work.
But Kuva, what's your thoughts on Hugo at the minute? Jack and Philip seem to think he's been a stalwart so far this season, played well. Me, I'm probably a bit disappointed with some of his decision making in the big games. I mean, where do you sit on it?
Well, the man's got a lot of credit in the bank with us, hasn't he? He's been brilliant for years. I think the trouble is we've got a manager now who's ruthless with what he wants. And at the end of the day, we are a team that's aiming to play out from the back, and he is not good at that. He also doesn't command the area very well. He's more of a reactionary. He's got the reflexes. He's a brilliant shot stopper, but he doesn't put in some of the other aspects to the game that you get with other goalkeepers. We do need to look at replacing him. So age alone shows we've got to replace him at some point. We should have a few people in mind. I think we were talking about Nick Pope before, which I think is also an amazing shot stopper, but he's not great with his feet either.
Too similar, actually, to Hugo, in fact.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think there are other keepers out there. Obviously, Henderson's mentioned. He's a great prospect.
I think we're scouting Leslie.
I don't think we have to be in a panic replacing him so much as we have with some of the other positions. Yeah. But it's that. And I actually do rate Forster, who we have as a reserve goalkeeper at the moment. I've said this before on the show. It was about 6 or 7 years ago. I thought he was the best goalkeeper in the Premiership when he was at Southampton. He was absolutely outstanding. Commanded the penalty area, great shot stopping. He's good with the ball at his feet. If need be, and Hugo's throwing a few wobblies, he can come in and do a job for us. I'm sure he can. Let's just make the next long-term decision the right one, because it's such an important position for any team. You get your goalkeeper right, you've got the start of something at least. Manchester United, as soon as you take the likes of Schmeichel or Van der Sar out, they're not quite the same, are they? You see it with Liverpool and Man City at the moment. Alisson and Ederson, they're just phenomenal parts of the team. Take them out, team really does suffer for it. So I think Hugo does concern me a little bit, but it's been a long-term thing. We could have addressed this problem a while ago. How do you replace somebody that's doing those many world-class saves for us on such a consistent basis? It's no good just having somebody that's good with their feet and that doesn't save those shots. Finding that perfect goalkeeper is a tough ask.
What I will say, though, maybe to redeem myself, what I will say is that it's a good sign at times if I'm talking about a couple of mistakes Hugo Lloris is making, rather than all the shit I've had to talk about for the last 2 or 3 years and the players I've had to complain about. So the fact that I actually have very little to pick from, probably a sign of the times that we're in, which is good. Now, we'll take these couple of super chats here from Dark Sun G, and then I'm going to get into Conte and a bit of rotation. Dark Sun G21 says, just got off work. I expect more energy today. Could not agree more, my man. I mean, look, 6 days rest since the game against Marseille. I expect us to put in a very convincing performance tonight. I don't expect us to be leggy whatsoever. So I expect a good performance, a lot of energy tonight, Dark Sun G.
And also, I think Dark Sun G is probably walking into the house, Dave, feeling fully confident going against Sporting, where the outlet, I'm pretty sure, is absolutely shaking right now. Speaking of that word, nervous wreck, I think, Dark Sun G's, Dave, the father's at an absolute nervous wreck. He doesn't know when Liverpool are going to get a result.
Oh, if I was him, I'd walk in. I'd be like, what's for dinner, loser? You're a loser right now. Make me dinner. You've had all these years of being winning and everything else. Now you're a loser. Make me dinner. You're going to suffer. Big up, Dark Sun G. He also says, we got great physical players, yet we can't utilize it because the refs are calling very soft fouls. Today, I hope we can bulldoze Sporting with Son, Kane, Kulu, and a Richie going. I mean, Jack, what would you say, Dark Sun G here? He's correct. I mean,
very correct.
It was clear in the transfer window that we were signing 6-foot-plus players to come in and make us more competitive, more physical. But all of a sudden, we do that. Now the referees want to, take the contact out of the game. What was the point?
Yeah, this is something I'm slightly worried about, Dark Sun G, when it comes to North London Derby, because I think we absolutely outcompete them in terms of the physical aspect, like, Conte would like to say, in probably every single player in that Arsenal team. I think we could all show the weight room, in fact. And it just makes me a bit worried if we did have, let's say, a ref that doesn't really let things go, doesn't really, as maybe the term plays, let them play. I would be a bit worried because I think they have very technically gifted players, that Arsenal team, but they could easily be shoved over. And if the referee sees them maybe going down a bit easily and decides to give us the benefit of the doubt, then I think we could absolutely steamroll teams like Arsenal, or teams that are very sort of reliant on technically kind of smaller sort of players. And if we do come up against a referee that kind of gives those players that do always go down a bit easily the benefit of the doubt, then I feel like we'll be very frustrated, like we were against Marseille, where you just sort of feel like, what can you do? Because it feels like anytime you even touch the player or breathe near the player, the referee is so willing and eager to give a foul for them. And I just think sometimes it is, and I know we've been ranting about the refs probably a bit too long here, but it is, at the end of the day, probably a bit more banterish than it is, really that serious. But I do feel like, Dark Sun, it's something that's been on the back of my head, where sometimes it is sort of official dependent when we do come up against teams, because I think we do kind of outstrength or sort of outmuscle most teams. We are a much stronger team than most teams, and makes me worried that maybe the referee then sees that and gives them maybe more of the benefit of the doubt, the other team, I mean.
Just imagine having to walk up to the referee and apologizing because your biceps are bigger than his head. Like, it's absolutely ridiculous. I'm sorry, I'm so strong and I hit the gym. It's absolutely shambolic. Big up, Dark Sun.
It felt like that with Marseille. It really felt like that with Marseille. There are a few of them where it's just like, just because Richie is so big doesn't mean it's a foul, ref. Like, it's just ridiculous.
Honestly, I'm so sorry I hit the gym 7 days a week, and I'm so sorry I'm a man that your missus fantasizes about, but blow the whistle anyway, dickhead. I'm absolutely sick of half of these referees. They really annoy me. They all need to go on a crash course again, or else just get me in to do the job. I'll do it. If you want something done right, call Harris. Dark So G also says, my dad really misses Mane. Laughing my ass off. I hope Liverpool keeps on losing because he is upset and saying the only team playing well is LA Dodgers. He rates Mane over Salah. Do you know what? For me, I actually said this about Liverpool. I can't remember if I said it to Jack or Sean, but I said it about Mane. He's a bigger loss to Liverpool than what Salah would have been. Mane is a lot less greedy than what Mohamed Salah is. Mane done a lot for all the other players around him, whereas Salah is all about himself. And when he's not firing, there's big troubles at Liverpool. Whereas Mane, even if he's not firing, he's still producing assists, still running, making runs for everybody else and stuff like that. And plus, he's more of a Liverpool player than Salah. Liverpool is, they like to think of themselves as working class and stuff like that. And Mane fits more in with what they're about, in my opinion, than what Salah does. So I could see this one coming. I think they let the wrong player go, if I'm being quite frank with you, Dark Sun G. I mean, I don't really pretend to know anything about the LA Dodgers, Jack. Maybe you can enlighten us.
I've yet to pay attention to baseball in a long time. I do enjoy baseball, but I don't pay attention to it at all. But I agree there. I think Mane was a huge loss for them. And I think, in fact, Mane was sort of the one that made the rest of the team look a lot better in a lot of aspects. I think keeping Salah was smart, Dave, by Liverpool, but they probably underestimated what Salah needs in order to do well there. And I think maybe what he needed was a player like Mane to do some of that sort of unselfish work that you were sort of speaking about, where Salah, I think, is a bit more focused on the accolades, a bit more focused on the individual sort of awards and accomplishments. I think Mane was sort of less focused by the looks of things on
Couldn't
that sort
agree
of thing.
more.
Yeah.
Couldn't agree more. A Dark Sun G, if he has a birthday or a Christmas, or I don't know whether you do some sort of Thanksgiving over there or anything like that, or, just simply, like I said, a birthday, get him a Liverpool jersey with Cry More number 9 on the back. He'll know exactly what that is reference to. Richarlison, of course, being an ex-Evertonian, it'll probably put him even more into the depths of despair, but it'll be a good joke, Dark Sun G. So a Liverpool jersey with number 9 Cry More on the back, that'd be absolutely awesome. And if you do get it, I want a picture, because that'd probably go viral. Absolutely love that, my man. Now, we're here for what everybody wants to talk about today. The big question mark, and that is the starting lineup. Antonio Conte has said the Man City game last weekend postponed will see him switch from what he had originally planned for his starting lineup against Sporting. Now, what I want to know from the guys is what's your interpretation of this? And we'll start with Jacko and work our way around. Jacko, does that mean we will see the same starting 11 who faced Marseille, or is he saying he's going to rotate?
I think by the looks of things, how I understood it is I think he isn't going to rotate, and he saw that Man City game as a point where he did have to think about rotating the squad quite heavily the following week. But now that he sort of got, I don't know if it's a benefit or anything, but he got that forced rest against Man City. When I think about what people said last night on the fan show, maybe we did want to play that game so that we could actually rotate the squad a bit going into this week. But nonetheless, I actually think he's going to stick with his strongest lineup. We still have to get those 9 points or 12 points, I think, like Kuva was saying, in order to be able to relax in the Champions League. So you probably should go with your strongest lineup just so that you can ensure at least that we get 6 points off of 2 games, and then we can find ourselves in an even more comfortable position when it comes to the Champions League. Because I agree with Kuva. I think you want to be in a position as soon as possible when it comes to those midweek games where you don't really have to worry too much about the performance, don't have to worry too much about the result. And then you can kind of relax and probably rotate even more freely for those sort of games. You don't want to find yourself in towards the end of the Champions League campaign where you're treating those games just as importantly as the Premier League. I think now is the moment where we do actually probably start our best lineup and get the 3 points that we need.
No, 100%. Big up, Shawnee. I hope you're keeping well, my man. I'll see you very soon on We Are Tottenham TV, where me and you will be taking the duties today. Let's have some fun with it, brother. Champions League is back. And you say game day. Big up. Absolutely love it. Philip, do you agree with what Kuva and Jack are saying then, that Conte should use this opportunity to pick what he sees as his best start 11 going forward, regardless of whether having to drop players out and bring other ones in?
If we'd have played Man City on Sunday or Saturday, I've no doubt there'd be not wholesale changes, but there'd be a lot of rotation for this match tonight. The fact that we didn't play Man City means I think he'll pretty much stick with the same lineup that started against Marseille, and maybe use the game against Leicester to make a few changes. Not too many. Just make a couple of changes just to give the boys a rest. But no, we've got to go for this tonight. I mean, in a way that the fixtures have worked out quite well for us, or the postponement has worked out quite well, because let's face it, you just never know what you're going to get at Man City. We could be coming to this game tonight on the back of a heavy defeat at City. Not saying it would happen, but it could happen. And look what that would have done to the morale of the side. So things have worked out well for us. So more or less same team tonight, then mix it around on Saturday against Leicester. And not too much, because I want to see Harry Kane and Richarlison play. I don't want to see him sitting on the bench when they go over there. But there are certain areas that he probably will switch around. Maybe in the wing-back scenario, either give Spence or Doherty a game, and maybe bring Sessegnon back in for Perisic, that type of change. But anyway, no changes tonight. And just one thing tonight, we're lucky we're playing away tonight, because apparently, because of the Queen's death, the Champions League music will not be played at Anfield tonight before the match, which for me is one of the highlights. One of the highlights of the game is hearing that music coming out. So, but then again, I suppose they'll probably play something else to keep the Liverpool fans from disgracing themselves, which they probably will again tonight during the national anthem or something,
Yeah, I couldn't believe it. But you know what? Hopefully they get used to not hearing that Champions League anthem at Anfield. That would be absolutely very nice. Back to the Liverpool I remember growing up, where they had a lot of these Spanish players that weren't any good, and they were competing in the Europa League or the UEFA Cup at the time. That'd be very, very nice. But Kuva, I mean, what do you think from Conte's words in the press conference? Do you think he was hinting at he was going to make changes and that he's not now, and he's going to stick with the same 11? Or do you think you might see one or two, and if you do, that'll be his strongest 11 that he thinks is his strongest team?
One thing I'm absolutely convinced of this season is Conte will not sacrifice league points for any of the cups.
Yeah.
So he will build everything around having our strongest team available for all of those league games. And I think this would have been a game where he would have rotated some of them. because we've had the nice little rest, there's no reason why he can't pick what he sees as our strongest 11 and do the same again on Saturday. I'll see no reason at all, because the Saturday game's at home. You've come back from your exertions of midweek, put your feet up for a day, back in the training. You should be ready to go for 2 games. If the players can't manage 2 games in a week, we're in real trouble anyway. Yeah, I think Conte, this is what it's about. It is game management, well, not game management, but it's player management, man management, dealing with the injuries, dealing with the fatigue levels. 2 games in a week, no problem at all. 3 games in a week, you've got to start rotating. So I'm not at all worried about it. And I'm sure that's what Conte's referring to. He was prepared to drop a few people, bring a few fresh legs in. No need now. Let's just go at it.
I agree, especially if you look at it. We've got Sport and we've got Leicester, and then I think we're on international break. So there's no need to be making these rotational changes whatsoever, you know. In terms of, worrying about, like you said, fatigue and everything else. Tonight, put your best 11 out there, go out, spank these, spank the Foxes, and then head off in international duty. And then when we come back, we've got Arsenal. But what I will remind people is, last season when they came back off the back of international duty, they lost 3 games on the bounce. So hopefully we're getting Arsenal at the right time. That would be nice. Now, we will go into a bit more depth on rotation. Just give me 1 minute. Dark Zone G, big up, brother. He says, this season, I feel we'll end up higher than Liverpool. And now they have to face Wolves and Blues when they are fit. It's time for success with Conte as long as we keep on getting results while playing poorly. We'll give this one to Philip, because I know Philip is very strong on this. He doesn't believe that we're not that bad at the minute whatsoever. I'm kind of the agreement. Look, I get the games are boring to watch, but I think we found a way where we're extremely hard to beat and we rely on our quality to take our chances. But what would you say to the second part of Dark Song G's super chat here, Philip, where he says, it's time for success with Conte as long as we keep on getting results?
Yeah. Like, we are getting results. We're not playing well. I mean, that's pretty obvious. But we're playing well enough. If we're not playing very well, the other teams aren't playing any better than us, because we either beat them or we've been drawing with them. And I'll use the analogy I used on Dermot's show yesterday. I looked at Tottenham at the moment as being a bit like a caterpillar, right? And a caterpillar turns into a butterfly, and the butterfly flies away. Love beautiful colors, and everybody loves the butterfly. We're in the stage where we're just about to become a butterfly, and when we do that, we're going to start playing very well and playing decent football. I look back on previous years with Tottenham where we played the way we played in recent matches, and we got hammered, we got beaten, and because the mental strength wasn't there. And that's one thing Conte has really instilled into that team, is a huge mental strength, never say die attitude, which is brilliant. So let's keep that. Let's keep it going. It will come. Like as Kevin Costner kept saying in Field of Dreams, if you build it, they will come, and it's coming very soon. And the fact that we've got this far without playing well is a huge tantamount to the skill and this professionalism that Conte brings to the club. And long may it continue.
Absolutely love that. So Philip is going with the butterfly effect. Absolutely love it. Sorry, Jacko, what were you going to say?
We're angry.
First part here as well.
Yeah, we're angry caterpillars right now at the moment, just waiting to become butterflies. Dark Sun G's point, though, Dave. Yeah, I feel like Liverpool, to be honest, they've dropped so many points at this stage that I know we spoke about this before the season begun, where it was like, can we close the gap with Man City? Can we close the gap with Liverpool? With Man City, I think it's another story, but Liverpool are sort of closing the gap themselves with the rest of the team, because I think what I've heard some stat is the amount of points that they've already dropped in the league is something like they pretty much have sacrificed more points, or half of the points that they've dropped from last season already. And, we're only 5-6 games into the season so far, which suggests that they're basically self-destructing themselves or closing the gap themselves. So I feel like if they continue to drop points against the likes of Wolves and the Blues, Dark Sun G, especially, I could see it happening to the Blues as well. And Wolves always give everybody a tough game. Even if they lose, they give them a tough game. I think they're going to continue to close the gap themselves. And if we just keep inching along in that caterpillar form, like Philip was saying, and grab those points, I think we'll be actually ahead of Liverpool and sort of the amount of points that they already might drop by, let's say, game week 9, game week 10 might be too much by then, might be too many points dropped by then, Dark G.
Look, everyone knows that I think you should be eyeing to win the Premier League, but I definitely think we have a solid chance at second right now with the way things are unfolding. With Chelsea bringing in Harry Potter, changing manager, it comes down to will they respect him? I think he'll do a good job there if they respect them, but it comes down to whether they'll respect them. They're superstars at the end of the day. And Liverpool have started off slowly, so I think, second is definitely a viable option. And Darkstone G also says we can use Foxes as a rotation because they are 20th. Look, 100%. If we wanted to,
and it's at home.
I think we could. But at the end of the day, I think you just put out your strongest 11 again because international break is coming up right around the corner. So, there's no need to, rotate or rest whatsoever, to be honest with you, Dark Sun G. So I'll be looking at about putting out the 2 strongest teams available to us and looking to get maximum results, to be honest with you, my man. Big yourself up, brother. Really appreciate the support. Now, I want to talk a bit about Lenglet and Ben Davies, because when I'm looking around a lot of the articles and stuff like that, they're a lot of them are predicting that Ben Davies might actually come in for Christian Romero or for Lenglet. Now, for me, Christian Romero and Eric Dyer, they probably will start in the back 3, but it's the left side that is less clear, and it has been so far this season. Who is better for an away European game, Kuva? Lenglet, who has started the last 2 and is much more better on the ball, has much more European experience than Ben Davies, or does he opt for a dogged Davies who will throw his body in the line and get blocks in?
Lenglet all day long for me. Just better player at everything. It's that simple. Literally nothing else to say on that. He's just a better player.
I kind of agree with you, Kuba, but if you were to give the logic where a situation where Ben Davies could be better, I did hear some people say maybe against Man City, that's where you could see him potentially competing with Lenglet. He has that experience of winning at the Etihad. He has that experience of beating Man City plenty of times, actually, in his career with Spurs, whereas Lenglet doesn't exactly have that experience coming up against a team like Man City. But Sporting away from home in Lisbon, this does feel like a game where Lenglet actually would be better suited for this sort of, not only because he's a better player, like Kuba said, but also because I think games like this, Lenglet actually has more experience than Ben Davies. And only last season, Dave, Ben Davies was basically complaining and blaming your mother as well as your missus for the grass, as well as the crowd in the Netherlands being too toxic for him. So sometimes these European nights do get into Ben Davies' head. They can be a bit too much for him. He gets a bit rattled. So maybe we should play Lenglet instead.
On that point, Jack, I'm sold. La 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 long la long long lay. He's in. Davies can't handle atmospheres outside of the UK. Philip, is it a bit harsh on Davies? Jack saying don't play him because he'll be intimidated tonight. He'll play in the pitch. My mother, my sister, and the atmosphere. Does Davies actually deserve to come back into the team? Given he was not in the best of form when he was dropped.
No, I play Lenglet every day of the week, and mainly because if you look at Davies can't play the playing out from the back routine that we need, whereas Lenglet can. I mean, again, it's eyes behind. Close your eyes and hope nothing happens whenever Dyer, Sanchez, and Davies are playing the ball out from the back. So at least we've got shot at 2 of them now. Potentially got shot at 2 of them. So no offense to Ben Davies, he's a good squad player. He's done well in the last few games. He saved us a goal there against Marseille the other night. He's a good squad player. But Lenglet for me starts all day long in matches like this because of his ball playing ability and his ability to get that ball from front to back in the shortest possible time, back to front in the shortest possible time instead of 15 passes to get across the halfway line.
Couldn't agree more with everything that you all said there. Look, for me, I think, if you put Sanchez and Davies back in there, you're asking for trouble and you're just inviting trouble on yourself. So for me, you've got to stick with Clement Lenglet today. But interesting to see a lot of the journals picking out Ben Davies. Now, Jack, what I'll ask you is Sporting do have a creative attack of Trincao, Gonçalves and Marcus Edwards. Will a back 3 find it easier or harder dealing with a front 3 without a true number 9 with fast, tricky, technical players running at them?
Yeah, it's a difficult one because I think we came up against that similarly against Wolves, right? Where there wasn't exactly, you could say, a true number 9. Maybe Gonçalo Guedes was sort of the number 9 in that team. But I think it's a similar situation where like Marcus Edwards is a similar kind of tricky player like Guedes is as well. So I think it could be an interesting one. When I think about it, Wolves, they did cause us problems because they had an exceptional midfielder in Neves who was able to get them that distribution, able to get them that service. And once you get the ball into those sort of kind of tiny, tricky players like Podence and guys like that, it is tough to get the ball away from them. And it is tough to just win it cleanly right away. They do have good skills in being able to keep possession. At the same time, though, when you look at it, they're going to have to play a different way. They're not going to be able to put in, balls deep from the outside the box into the area because they don't really have any big, tall strikers available to them. I think Martin Walton said they have one sort of kind of big, useless kind of donkey, I think, in the subs for them if they wanted to put him on the pitch. But they're going to have to play a much more technical game. Sporting, which means, Dave, they'll be playing in front of our center backs instead of maybe running in behind our center backs all the time. They'll be trying to play a lot of it in front of us. Maybe we'll struggle with that. I'd like to think that actually that could be easier for us because I think players like a Mitrovic, players like I think we all know a Holland, but an Ivan Toney, those sort of players would cause Eric Dyer trouble, cause Ben Davies trouble because they have that strength and they can also maybe hit them with a nice distributed pass or something like that. But Edwards, all those guys, Gonçalves, they're all going to have to play right in front of our back line. And I think that might actually be easier for us, strangely, if that makes any sense at all. They won't be playing in line with the defenders. Yeah. They won't be playing on the defender's shoulder as much, which I think actually might help us.
I've one fear, though. One fear. The last couple of games, Eric Dyer has been caught out when he's had to in the middle.
And he doesn't step out, or when he does step out, he misses the challenge.
My fear is if they get a run at him and he's isolated, he will just drop right into his own box. And that's the only way I can see them really getting us. I think Lenglet will be able to deal with it, not a bother. Romero, look, whether you skin him or whether he gets the ball or not, he's taking you. So that doesn't matter. But my fear is if they do get a run at Dyer, and I've seen this time and time again this season, where he drops, and it's because he doesn't back his ability to be able to make or time that challenge. And the reason why I say that is we've seen it this season where he's missed back-to-back games, missed 2 tackles on the halfway line, and Højbjerg's had to take yellow cards for him. So I do get worried about that. I mean, Kuva, you're nodding your head. Do you see? Are you worried about the same thing?
Yeah, I don't rate Dyer. I think he's a poor footballer. That's just... Yeah. That's the trouble with the team. We do
He's gone for the 10 words or less.
We do have some players that need replacing. Ultimately, he's one of them, in my opinion. You can't get away from it. I mean, if he was the all-conquering centre back, he'd be at Real Madrid, wouldn't he?
Very true. Very, 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 very true. Look, do you know what? I hope he has I do hope the guy has a good game today. I think. Look. He looks a lot better with Romero and Lenglet either side. I still have my doubts, but I think he'll be okay for this season. I think he's going to frustrate me an awful lot, but I think we'll probably get through this season. But I would be looking at...
Here's the thing, like you have a complete opposite spectrum here. Would you rather Dyer come up against a Mitrovic, or would you rather him come up against Marcus Edwards? I think that's maybe the question on that. Then we really don't rate him then. We really don't rate him.
One thing though, we're talking about Marcus Edwards having a good game against his former club. Well, Eric Dyer will be looking to have a good game against his former club as well. So let's hope he has a good game tonight.
No very more true. Dyer, Mr. Dior.
Yeah,
it is his homecoming. I believe 27 appearances he made for Sporting before he moved to Tottenham. Look, Moondog, if you're around, if you're listening, get a fiver on Eric Dyer on his homecoming tonight. I'd be eager to score.
He did, Dave, on the fan show. He said he will. He said he will because it's Eric Dior today, Dave. It's Eric Dior.
I'll never go that far. That's too far. I'm big on nicknames, but Moon Boots is more adequate rather than Eric Dior, in my opinion. I think I'm more on the money there. I'm all for delusion, but that's taking the piss. Tarek G says it's a shame that Lucas is out injured, but it's nice to have a quality squad that are all fit and ready. Look at our squad, our top 4 rivals with injuries. I hope this can continue with staying injury-free. I mean, Philip, what would you say, Dark Sun G here? He makes a very interesting point. If we can stay injury-free, hopefully we can keep winning games.
Yeah, when you look at Liverpool, I mean, they'll put down their bad form to the fact that they've had up to 9 players injured at the same time, which is hard for any squad to cater for. So, yeah, hopefully we can. Like, Lucas Moura is the only one that's out injured tonight. And in fact, I was quite surprised. This has gone off the tangent a bit here, but I was quite surprised to see Lucas Moura talking about his political views there during the week. Not what I would have expected from, to be honest with you, But anyway, that's beside the point. He's the only one that's missing. So, like, the squad that we have should be, God's sake, easy, more than good enough to win this group comfortably. We can't think of anything less, really. We've got to win tonight. I think we're playing Frankfurt away next, isn't that correct?
Yeah,
we have 2 away games on the trot. If we can come out with 9 points in those 3 games, home and hosed, with the home games to come. So, but the fact that we're lucky with injuries so far, I mean, that could change in a flash. We could get 2 injuries tonight. We could get them in crucial positions. You get Harry Kane could get injured. Richarlison could get injured. Son could get injured. It's something you can never legislate for. And again, I know we're giving out about the referees being maybe too not allowing enough go. I hope if it gets rough tonight, the referee does clamp down and stop any bad injuries to players on either side. We want to see a little bit of physical contact, but within reason. But I mean, we keep the injuries free. I don't know what Man City's injury list is like. It's probably not too deep. I don't think there were too many.
No, I don't think it's that deep.
Injured.
Liverpool are 9 or 10 out.
Liverpool are the other ones. Chelsea. But listen, all we need to do is keep doing the business on the pitch, keep winning, and let other teams worry about us. We're not going to be worried about them.
Couldn't agree more. Could not agree more. There you are, Dark Song G. Make sure you respond to Philip in the comments, my man. Absolutely love that. I could listen to Philip all day. Big up, brother. Really appreciate the support, my man. We've got Kev Williams. He says 2-0 for the mighty Spurs, Son and Kane, and the Flat Cap Army. Absolutely love that. Look, I'd love to see
prediction
Sonny.
too, Kev.
I'd love to see Sonny on the score sheet tonight, my man. I really would. Look, still doubts, and we'll get onto it whether he's actually going to start tonight or not. But for me, I just want him to get that goal and get everybody off his back and just give him a little bit of time. I will stick by him because I've seen the fruits of my labour when I stuck by Harry Kane that time, and he proved me right, and I hopefully Son does the same. Big up, Kev Williams. Good to see you, buddy, and I hope you're keeping well, my man. It's been a while. Kuva, Dark Sungi puts in a super chat here. I think you probably will agree with this. He says, we should use Lenglet as much as possible. His pass range is way better than Davies. Davies should be used for easy cup fixtures or being a sub like Marseille.
Back to Mr. 33, Dark Sun. Jeez, put him back to Mr. 33, back to Mr. Anonymous.
I love that. But Kuva basically saying, stop this talk about Davies or Lenglet. It's got to be Lenglet all day long. And then Davies can be back to what he always was at Tottenham.
Yeah, I agree. We're talking about the same Ben Davies that used to play at wing back and regularly second choice to Danny Rose. That's where his journey's come from. It being an emergency centre back and then turned into one that's reasonably reliable doesn't suddenly make him good enough for a club of our size and our ambition. Surely we've got to do better than that. So Lenglet is a big improvement. I think Darkson G spot on. Keep Davies for the easier games. Lenglet is a much better player. We are a better football inside with him in it instead of Davies.
Look, I 100% agree with that. I mean, I spent about 6 weeks. I was nearly fucking dying with no breath left saying it. I mean, I completely agree with that. And people sitting there going, Dave, you're this, you're that. What I was right. Anyway, we won't get on to that though, Kuva. But what I want to ask you is, looking at Lenglet, now obviously I think we still have someone like Bastoni in our sights, potentially Gavardio to play over that left side. Would you buy Lenglet and bring him in here once his loan ends this summer?
I'll answer that at the end of the season, I think, mate.
Fair enough.
So, we've not seen a lot of it. There is a player certainly there because when he was first at Barcelona, he looked outstanding. He really did. Went off the boil there, didn't he? A bit of a fallout with the fans. Down the pecking order. Still played regular games. Had a few shockers mixed in with that. Perhaps that was just the the sort of atmosphere and the situation he was in affecting him. I think he's a good player. I think if it's a reasonable price we could buy him for, it's probably worth it. If we're talking 40 million or something, though, you might think twice at this point. But come the end of the season, if he's had a blinder and for half the season, it might look like good money then.
Yeah. No, look, I'm thinking you'll probably get him for in around 15, 20 million. I don't think he's a long time left on his contract either. So hopefully it wouldn't be big money. But what I'd look at I'd still bring him in, and I'd still look at going and getting a Bastoni. Yeah. I mean, you know, and it creates good quality squad depth. And plus, no matter who plays, you've got two brilliant ball-playing defenders. Interesting enough, Bastoni finds himself on the bench at Inter Milan at the minute. So that might work well for us coming into January if that still remains the case. But Dark Zone G, brother, really appreciate the support, my man. Absolutely.
I think the trouble is when we talk about players like Ben Davies and then Lenglet coming in. I understand a lot of fans when they've got, when you got a favourite player or somebody you really like, but they're probably not that good if you're really honest about it. I think we have a tendency to try and justify their place in the team or spot in the squad when they're clearly not good enough. And it quite often makes you look like you're very negative or unpopular with your opinion when you say this player isn't good enough. We've got to shift them on. Because as soon as that better player does arrive, fans easily forget about the one they're bigging up in the first place.
Do you know what? Look, I can understand it from both points. Look, me, Kuva, I'm pretty much with you. I have no problem sitting there and going, look, he's shit, not good enough for Tottenham, get him out of the club. But then I do understand from the other side where it's like, look, there's nothing you can do. He's a Spurs player. He wears the jersey. Just get behind him until the next transfer window opens or whatever. I can understand both sides, but you know where I tend to lean to, Kuva. More on your side with that. It's like, look, just get him gone. He's a two-legged donkey. But look, everybody, if you are enjoying this pre-match build-up and you want to see more of them and you absolutely love the panel, smash that like button. Let's get it up to over 200 likes. There's no excuses for that not to happen today. There's 270 watching. It's a build up to a Champions League night. Smash that like button. Also, if you're new, smash the subscribe button. We're 15 away from reaching 8K. Let's see if we can make that happen today. And guys, feel free to help support the channel like Dark Zone G here, like Kev Williams, Adrian Chia with a super chat, guys. It is a great way to support, and as you can see, we will go into depth on your topics, but most importantly, keep getting your chats in the comment, and we'll keep bringing them up. Dark Zone G to end the trilogy here. He says, I'm not worried about Trincao. To be honest with you, I watched Wolves because of Hwang. So from what I saw, he's a worse version of Lucas. I would be shocked if Trincao scores. I mean, what do you think, Jack? Is his end product worse than Lucas?
He loves missing a sitter. Actually, I think Lucas is, actually a much better finisher than Trincao is. Trincao has, I would say, actually quite lovely feet and quite tricky feet at times. But what I saw from Wolves is that dude loves missing a sitter and loves missing, the final opportunity or the final chance. In fact, he always seemed to do quite well in getting to the right areas or maybe creating a good opening or a good chance, but then would miss the final pass, miss the final finish. And in fact, that sort of does make him a bit worse than Lucas. I think with Lucas, it's not usually the finish that's always that poor. It's usually just his final ball or his final pass is always a bit shocking in certain moments. But usually Lucas actually can surprise us with a decent finish. So I think that's kind of a spot on analogy. Trincao kind of just being a worse Lucas, has really nice, lovely feet, really knows how to be able to skip past a player. But that final ball, that final end product is really lacking a lot of times. Great analogy. Great comparison.
You know what? He was a player that was very highly rated at Barca, wasn't he, Kuva?
Yeah, he was. And he's still quite young. I think he's 21, 22 still.
Yeah, well, he didn't pull up any trees at Barcelona either, really. Not when he actually got his chances. He's very low output. I think he only got like a couple of goals or something like that for Barcelona. It certainly wasn't. Well, for any club. He must be on less than 10 career goals at this point.
If I remember correctly, this guy destroyed us under Nuno and when we played him in one of the first games of the season. He was quality that day. But I know we bet them 1-0, but he created an awful lot that day.
But that's what Lucas can do as well. That's where it's actually a fair comparison. Lucas can do that to a team where he just skips past players and just cause absolute chaos. And at the end of the day, I think, what is it, Dave? Wolves still lost that game. Very Lucas-esque.
Interesting comparison, because Lucas is one of those players frustrates me the most at this club. It's all the talent in the world. He's likable. Everything's there. He can dribble past players, look amazing. And then he's got such a poor output. It just makes you want to pull your hair out. Such a shame. It feels like he's wasted a lot of his career almost. It's just because that final product hasn't been there. He could have been one of the best in the business.
Yeah, for sure, 100%. He's nowhere near the player that we signed from PSG. I remember watching him PSG dribble down the wing, cut in, and put a 30-yard thunderbolt into the top corner. He's a long way off that player now. We'll take a few comments here, and then we'll crack into talking about the midfield before we get into the major talking points, which is the forward line. Simon Davies says we need to send a message to the rest of the group. Rest Sonny and play Kulu and Richie. That looks our most dangerous first 11 at the minute. Very, very interesting with Simon. We will get onto that, my man. We will be talking about Kulu, Sexy, Richarlison, and all things Sonny. So just hold yourself in, strap yourself in, my man. Big yourself up. Correct me if I'm wrong. Same name as the guy that we signed for the academy, no? The head of methodology. Maybe I'm wrong. I think so. Mark New says if Inter don't qualify from the group of death, Bastoni will leave 100% in January. Bastoni's always been their number one target for Conte. Contenders for Premier League title if we get. Absolutely love that, contenders. I'm actually gonna use that to be honest with you, Mark. So thanks for that. I appreciate that, my man. Absolutely love it. But look, me personally, I actually don't think we will see any rotation in the midfield whatsoever. But as we're here to analyze the build up to the game, we probably do have to talk about it. And Yves Bissouma will be looking for his first Champions League start after sleeping in his jersey last week, which he said. Do you see any of Højbjerg or Bentancur being rested tonight, lads? And any one of you can answer this. Me personally, I don't see the rotation.
No, not tonight. I think he'll leave it the way it was. Bissouma will be on the bench. He'll come on at some stage, but he won't start.
Maybe start him against Leicester. Instead.
Yeah, maybe.
A better decision. And it'd be unfair to him to keep playing him in away games if his only real starts and appearances came in away games. Might be a bit unfair to him. Perhaps just start him against Leicester.
Fair enough. Let's not get bogged down on it. We all think Højbjerg and Bentancur take the midfield. So let's move on to that much covered and talked about forward line. For me, one of the best in world football, even though it's not firing across all four players. But Kane, in my opinion, he will keep his place up top along with his absolutely phenomenal haircut. But let's talk about the right. Let's talk about the right-hand side here. The summer signing Richarlison grabbed a brace with a pair of headers securing the win, leaving him in tears of joy. And he's also got off to a strong start so far this season, having a lot of impact off the bench. Arguably, the biggest call today is, does he retain his place in the starting 11 today? I'll start this one off. I think he's got to. I think he's undroppable after bagging the 2 goals against Marseille. He offers us something different in that forward line, that if we do need to get the ball out wide, he's there to go and attack that ball. Plus, look, I'm not calling it the pigeon dance anymore. I'm calling it the cockerel dance. I want to see that in action again today. But for me, I think he fully deserves to keep his place in the team. He's come in here against all the odds with Kane, Son, and Kulu, who were absolutely phenomenal last season, the 3 of them. And you're looking at it and you're like, I'm going to have to bide my time to get in here. But unlike other players, like over the years gone by, where we've seen them, I'm not getting minutes. I'm only getting cameos off the bench. Well, now we know as Spurs fans, that's only an excuse, because if Richarlison can get 10, 15, 20 minutes off a bench and make his impact to get a place in the starting 11, that's the blueprint that everybody else has to follow. And that's why I was saying it, over the last 2 years of time, like people are saying, well, you need to give Harry Winks 8 games in a row. No, you don't. No, you give him an opportunity off the bench. If he takes it, then he warrants a start. That's how football works. So I'm glad we're getting back to that at Tottenham, because for far too long, we're sitting there listening to players making excuses. How do you expect me to come in for 10 minutes here and make an impact? Well, there's no excuse. If other players can do it, you can now do it. So for me, I think Richarlison's got to keep his place. He's been a perfect example of players not moaning and taking the opportunities. And plus, when he gets to start, he also takes that opportunity. And we'll go around the whole panel with this one. And we'll start with Kufa and work our way back this time.
For me, Richarlison, instant cult hero. Absolutely love this bloke. I think fantastic signing. Always believed he was going to be a great signing for us, but I think now it's starting to spread amongst the fans. We're seeing what he's about, and people who were doubting can see the qualities he can bring to the team. I like the idea with this front four that you can play them all together in some games or certain times of games. Kane just dropping back a little bit deeper, Richarlison being the forward, the more advanced forward in the middle, and then of course Sonny and Kulusevski on the flanks. That looks quite potent to me in some games. But for this particular game, I think we will be playing the tried and trusted 3-4-3 formation, and I think it will be Sonny, Kane, and Richarlison starting again. I think that although the big talk's always about Sonny, does he get dropped? Does he get rotated? It's not a worry. We're scoring goals and we're getting points and we're getting results. Worry about it when the goals dry up, and then we're looking at ways to try and fix that. But when you got a player like Sonny, let's not forget a Golden Boot winner from last season. He was on terrific form. Form's temporary, class is permanent, like they always say. You can't just drop him and think that's the solution to everything. Although we do now with Richarlison have the opportunity to do it if needed. And Sonny has responded for being left out of the team in the past and come back firing. So it's possible. It's a brave call, isn't it? You think that Conte, though, he does like his favourites. He's got an idea in his head what the first 11 is at the moment, and I think Richarlison has just pushed himself ahead of Kulusevski. But Kulusevski on the bench, what an option to bring on!
Yeah, it's an unbelievable option. I will actually get into Kulusevski very, very shortly because Glenn Hoddle reckons he can't be left out. And if that's coming from the God himself, Glenn Hoddle, I mean, we probably have to oblige. But I mean, Philip, your thoughts on Richarlison, my man?
Oh yeah, I mean, I thought the emotion he showed after he scored the 2 goals last Wednesday night, and then the emotion when he went over to his father and his family in the crowd. I mean, that's what football's all about to me. That guy was absolutely living the moment, and such a brilliant start for him. He has made himself undroppable. He really has. He's in the team now tonight, regardless. I still think it'll be the same 3 that started against Marseille. Because let's face it, Sonny is only a goal away from being Sonny again. That's all it's going to take. It's him, the ball. And it can be the flukiest 3 deflections and in off the goalkeeper's arse into the back of the net. As long as it's credited to Son, that's all he needs, and he'll be back. So, and having Kulu on the bench is a fantastic option to have. I mean, especially if things aren't going our way. Imagine the fullback thinking 20 minutes to go and they're bringing Kulusevski on to have a go at me. It really would be a great asset for the team. And just one thing slightly off topic. Tonight is that by the exact date tonight, 13th of September, 1961, was Tottenham Hotspur's first ever game in Europe. In the European Cup, the old European Cup. And I hope the result isn't the same. We got beat 4-2 by Górnik Zabrze of Poland after being 4-0 down at one stage. We won the replay, won the second leg 8-1, so that was immaterial. But so it's a great history lesson for Spurs tonight. 61 years in Europe, and we're playing the same night that we started. So let's hope that the team's made to know that and get a good win. But yeah, the forward line, same as Marseille, with Kulu to come off the bench.
Absolutely love that bit of history there, Philip. Shame we're not in the all-white kit tonight, though. We are in that blue, funky black sort of kit, so that's the one we're wearing tonight. But great bit of history there. Hopefully, Spurs honour that history today. But Jacko, I mean, what's your opinion on Richarlison? And also, Dark Stone G says this is why you buy players from the Premier League and not Netherlands. I think he's referring to Vincent Janssen. I mean, that guy was slower than my dead grandmother. He was just a car crash, that guy. But Richie is a way better player than Stevie. Oh, he's referring to Steven Bergwijn too. I mean, geez, we're racking them up. Richie gives it his all on the pitch, which was missing for a long time. Our midfield is great. No Giovanni, Lo Celso, Tanguy, and Weeks, etc. But take the Richarlison part, Jacko, and then your thoughts on Richarlison as well.
Yeah, I mean, he's become basically a cult hero already at this stage. I think it's quite impressive. It's probably one of the most hit the ground running sort of signings we've maybe seen in a while. But then again, a lot of Paratici signings actually recently, I would say, have been kind of hit the ground running sort of players. Kulusevski, Bentancur, Romero, etc. So, in fact, I think Richarlison has hit that note. But weirdly, he's kind of done it a bit differently than I think the rest of them. Perhaps because we know him from the Premier League. We kind of knew that he was a bit of a bad boy in the Premier League when it came to Everton and whatnot. And we were kind of, some of us were excited, some of us were a bit skeptical. Just felt like there was a lot of limelight probably on the guy, and the way that he's performed for us with very few minutes, let's be honest, still very few minutes. He's done exceptional, and I think he's basically won everybody over with the passion he shows. Not only is he a very good footballer, but he also presses, is pretty relentless on the pitch when tormenting defenders, when we're defending, loves a nice flick and trick, just is sort of kind of a crowd favorite, you could say, even in the way that he sort of plays. Everything about his sort of game just kind of makes you love him, I think, as a general football fan. But I think what probably makes him different from the rest of the signings, though, is that he seems to give his all for any club that he plays for, especially Spurs already. I mean, he's already dyed his hair to compete with Harry Kane for best hair in the team, considering that. And then also with Steven Bergwijn, I just feel like Stevie B was a good player, but his only good position was really left wing, whereas like Richie is yet again showing with his class that he can play left wing, striker, right wing, wherever you play him, he can be effective and he can be a great player for you. So I don't know. I think you're absolutely right, Dark Sun G. It was a good move for us to go for a well-proven player in the Premier League instead of maybe going for kind of a nifty sort of, I don't know, kind of hipster sort of choice, which I would have been totally guilty of, let's be honest.
No, you definitely would have been guilty. One thing I wouldn't trust you with is Tottenham's transfer budget, Jack. I think there'd be too many gambles had there. I do trust your judgment on players, but I don't know if I can handle
too much money saved, too many gambles, definitely.
But big up Dark Sun G. I mean, look, it just goes to show probably with what you're saying here is that our investment has probably taken a step up. Whether people like to look, everyone has their opinion on it, but for me, I think it clearly has. Rather than taking in these guys from the Netherlands, which is a gamble, you know exactly what you were going to get with someone like Richarlison. You know, he's been in the Premier League. He's been down the bottom of the Premier League where he's had to fight. He still scored goals, whether it was for Watford or Everton. So I think what you would call that is a calculated gamble rather than walking off to Netherlands and sticking your money on black and red in the roulette, you know, and take 50-50. So I'm absolutely buzzing with that. And as for the midfield, I mean, look, it's for me, I think it's night and day. I mean, when I was watching Ndombele, Lo Celso, Ali Winks, forget about it. You could not get a grip on the midfield. If you don't have the ball, none of them are willing to go and work hard enough to get it back. And it's a massive change for me. I think that midfield is very important. Look, some games you can get away with it if you have a great counter-attacking team. But where we were at that time, we didn't. Kane and Son really kind of got us out of a real deep mess that time. But midfield is important. You do have to have two players in there that want to do both sides of the game. Big up, Dark Sun G. Really appreciate the support, my man. Couple of more super chats to get to. And then a lot of people, Brains McLeod, Stevie Fraser, they're not happy about Decky not starting, so we'll get or being dropped. So we'll get onto that next. But Sammy Pilgrim, big yourself up, my man. I hope you're keeping well. I haven't really come across this name. Let me know whereabouts you're from, brother. He says, I love the positivity when our last results away in Europe are lost to Mora, Vitesse and Zagreb. Come on, you Spurs. What I will say to that is it's different times now, my man. We're different gravy. Back then, we were Little and Aldi. Now we're Bisto, baby. You know, you can't beat us right now. We're unbeaten going into this. Look, back then, we were playing, the teams divided up into A and B teams. We had a lot of players making excuses. Half of them didn't want to play for Nuno. Then when Conte came in, you know, he suffered the defeat to Mora, but he was also trying to give players a chance. Look, we never took that Europa Conference League seriously, and not as seriously as I would have liked. So for me, that probably explains them losses. Also with the change in management, not being able to play the last game of the group, etc., etc. Now Zagreb, again, look, it was taking a gamble. We done enough at home. We went away. We tried to rotate and rest some players, and we got our ass bit yet again. So for me, I think it's different this time. We're going out there with our strongest team available, and we're going out there with the best players. And for me, I think it's much different in terms of mentality, character, playing style. You know, look, I'm always confident. Them games should never have happened, and that's why I get so upset when them games happen. That's why I go absolutely berserk. And people say to me, Dave, you need to calm down. It's only football. But yeah, it's grand. But I also don't like being embarrassed. And for me, football is all I have. So when them games happen, I get really, really annoyed. But look, different times. We're in complete different era now. We don't have that bald forward Steve Hitchen making the signings anymore. We've got the Don Paratici in. We've also got Conte and not that bald Nuno. Honestly, something wrong with them bald guys that come into Tottenham, to be honest with you. There's a recurrent pattern I'm starting to see here. So we just need to employ people with a good head of hair is basically what I'm saying, Sammy. But do not worry, my man. It's different times. You will see that tonight. Come in after the watch along and you'll say, Dave, I understand. Big up, Sammy.
Keep
really.
the hitman, though. Keep the hitman.
To be fair, Zagreb turned Chelsea over as well, didn't they? Just the other week. Same lad that scored the hat-trick against us. Yeah.
Very clutch.
No, Zagreb. Look, one thing with Zagreb, you're like, and they've produced a lot of the players for the national team. You get technically sound players. They're not an easy team. They're very disciplined, and they're technically sound enough to catch you on the break. But still, no excuses. We should have slapped them. THFC, he's just got basically this a face with
cool
shades
guy
on.
glasses, Dave. He's just sitting back. He's probably this is what most Spurs fans are looking like in Lisbon right now. Just sitting, in the cafes, nice beer in hand, looking at just the people walking by, doing some nice people watching in Lisbon, waiting for a nice 3-0 performance.
You can imagine Dermot sitting at home trying to replicate. He's there with the heater on, full blast, got the shades on, bit of a sombrero, has the margaritas out. Big up, Dermot. If you get too warm, though, do turn off the heat, and it's not worth it to try and replicate an away trip to Lisbon, my man. Big yourself up, but I really appreciate support. But look, I do want to get into talking about Kulu Sexy, and a couple of comments here. Stevie Fraser says, we're all worried about how Sonny takes it. But has Decky done anything wrong? Which I don't think he has, if I'm being purely honest. I think he's been unfortunate, but I see your point. And Brains McLeod says, I feel so bad for Kulu. He was treated like this at Juve. He was the informed player, and then Diabale would get picked despite being on a bad run. It keeps happening to him. Sucks for the lad. So a lot of people are really worried about Kulu Sexy. I really think he is being very, very harshly treated. Now, what I will say is Kulu Sexy, the ginger from Sweden, he immediately gave Tottenham more creativity down that side when he came on. I think it was for Emerson against Marseille. Yeah. And Glenn Hoddle has also said he has to start the next game. So who does he come in for in terms of the front line? Or is there potential, Jack, and I know you're not going to like this, but is there potential that he potentially going forward, he could end up playing right wing back instead of Emerson?
I think actually I'd rather probably be that case. Maybe he does come in for someone like an Emerson. I feel like Emerson's played every game so far. He is showing improvement, but that's, besides the point. I think we know what we're getting right now with Emerson, and it'd be interesting to see someone like a Kulusevski come into it and see what he could offer differently. And who knows, Kulusevski doesn't need to play also the whole 90 minutes. He could play maybe 60 minutes as a right wing back. Someone comes on like an Emerson, maybe like a Doherty as well, as his replacement to kind of finish out the 90 minutes. I think that would be interesting. I'd love to see rotation there. For him to come in, it's either right wing back or for Son, Dave, because I think Richarlison is undroppable right now. I agree with Brains where he's the most informed player in the team basically right now alongside Kane. Those two are undroppable. It's pretty much the battle between Kulusevski and Son. Right now, if you were to look at the season so far, you would probably nod your head towards Kulusevski, but that means he's going to have to come in for Sonny, or he comes in at right wing back. If I were to not step on anybody's toes, Dave, this morning, I think I would say maybe he could be trialed at right wing back.
Interesting. I never thought you'd say that, Jack.
Sacrifice my love for Emerson, my defense of Emerson, so I don't hurt Sonny's feelings. Yeah.
I think if we get the wing back situation sorted out with two that are of the quality of Perisic for putting crosses in, there's even an argument for putting Kulusevski in as a number 10 then playing a 3-5-2.
Interesting.
I just don't see. Yeah, maybe. That's an interesting call. Yeah. Interesting call. But do you think he's been harshly treated so far, though, Kuva? Losing his space in the team to Richarlison?
Nah, it's a squad game. He'll just have to impress the manager even more in training. and say, look, I'll do all this. You've got to pick me. That's all you can do. You've got to knuckle down. We're supposed to be a big side, and now we've actually got the competition. You can't worry about players having to miss out. It's just the way it goes, isn't it? Doesn't matter whether you're Sonny or Richarlison or Kulusevski. There's if Richarlison is the informed striker at the moment, which he seems to be, he starts ahead of one of them. Just suck it up, get on with it. Do what Matt Doherty did. Go away, work on your game, come back. There's no problem. There will be plenty of chances for all these players to get plenty of games this season. It's just not an issue for me.
Yeah, no, look, that's fair enough. And I mean, Philip, with yourself, is there cause for Kulusevski to come in there ahead of Son and Son potentially be the one to miss out today?
It's possible, but I don't think it's going to happen. I mean, I think like we're going to play upwards of 60 matches this season, right? There's going to be lots of opportunity for Kulusevski to come into the side. At the moment, I think it could be counterproductive to drop Son. His confidence is at a low ebb, and you just don't know how it would affect him psychologically to be left out of the side. I think we stick with Son until he starts scoring goals, and then what a problem to have. Son or Kulusevski to pick, I mean that's why Conte's been paid these obscene amounts of money every year, is to make decisions like that. But Kulusevski should not be disappointed. He knows he's going to feature pretty much in every game, whether it's starting or coming on as a sub. And at the moment, I would stick with Son purely because we need Son scoring, and he's not going to score when he's sitting on the bench. So but Kulusevski has not been hard done by. He knows it's a squad team. There's no I-in team, and that's the way it should be. And plus the fact is, last season we didn't really have a squad, and people got comfortable. They knew there was no one else to come into their position. That's not the case anymore. Keep him hungry and keep him mean. That's what we need to do, and that's why I think Kulusevski will feature tonight, but he won't start.
100%. I'll just come back to you, Philip. I have another question for you. Paul G is also sitting at home with the.
He's sitting in Lisbon, Dave.
He's jealous of Dermot. He's like, why didn't I think of that? So he's gone and got their heater plugged in full blast, sitting there with the hat on and everything. Big up.
So is Old Soul Dave.
They're all sitting there. All the missus are going to come home from work and just see all the lads. They're going to be looking at them like, what the fuck are you doing? Absolutely love it. Absolutely love it. Big up, Paul G, brother. Really appreciate the support. But what I want to ask you, Philip, is there's a lot of talk about this rotation, dropping, whatever fancy smancy name you want to put on it. But I think, is the real fear that the reason why we say it and the reason why we call for it is the fact that we're afraid that one of them might lose a bit of confidence or might, take it not take it too well, rather than what you're saying, Philip, where it's like, look, we've got 4 players, we've got to keep each other on their toes. Yeah,
well, I mean, I think you've got a manager like Conte, who, if you can believe all that's said in the media, he's a real arm around the shoulder type manager, talks to the players, finds out how they feel, is anything bothering you, let me know, tell me about it, and I'll try and sort it out. Whereas Nuno barely spoke to the players from what we can gather, right? So I think if you've got a manager that the players can relate to, it makes sitting on the bench an awful lot easier than sitting on the bench not knowing what the hell is going to happen because your man is not giving any feedback. So I think, I don't think, sorry, I'm lost the gist of the question there, Dave. Just hit me again.
I was just saying, like, do you think the fact that we're constantly calling for this rotation, it's more out of fear that the player that's not playing might lose his way or might become disillusioned with life at Tottenham?
No. If he's handled right by the manager, that will not be an issue. Okay, if he's sent out to train on his own with the under-21s, then maybe, as happened to the 4 players that left the club in recent weeks. But no, I don't think so. I think the players know they've got a world-class manager in Conte who has their best interests at heart and the club's best interests at heart. So I don't think it's an issue. But look, we don't want players sulking and giving out and going to the press that I'm not playing in the team. I don't think you'll ever see that happen in a Conte team because they know what the end result would be. They'd be back to the 21s or the under 19s or whatever. So no, I have total faith in what Conte does, the way he handles the players, and what I've heard from the likes of Harry Kane. Like it's talking about Harry Kane is so happy with what's happening at Spurs now. He wants to sign a new contract. Compare that to what's happening a year ago. Yeah. That's how things have moved on for us. So we've got a great manager, a great man manager, and a man who knows how to massage the players' feelings to keep them feel that they're wanted.
Yeah. No, I fully agree. I think man management is probably Conte's best asset, in my opinion, the way he can keep everybody involved. And like it was him that famously come out and said, look, it's a squad game. Everybody has their part to play, etc., etc. So I definitely agree with that, Philip. Thanks. So G says Richie has goals in the Champions League and assists in the Premier League. He needs to play. I 100% agree. I don't think there'll be anyone calling for Richarlison to be sitting on the bench today, my man. And look, hopefully he can follow up with another goal. That'd be absolutely brilliant, Dark Sun G. Big up, brother. And he also says Son is getting closer to scoring. Now he can't be dropped. Jack, is it a risk?
Looking better each game. I think he's improved in the last two performances. I believe, his last two performances, I think he's shown some steady improvement. And in fact, he wasn't really doing what we probably were most critical of, I think, on this channel, as well as I've heard a few people be kind of, I think, rightfully so critical of this, is he was giving the ball away in kind of poor positions that was sort of hurting Spurs in our buildup. We relied on him to drop deep, hold the play up for us, maybe, touch it on to a midfielder, touch it on to a fullback. And he was just either getting shoved over, perhaps getting fouled. Regardless, he was just kind of giving the ball away a bit too much and a bit too sloppily, if you ask me. And I think in the last two games, Dave, something that I know you were quite critical of Son for, I think he's improved that actually quite a lot. And that was something that what we were kind of saying was the reason he probably should be dropped, is that if he keeps doing that, then you can't really consider playing him because he's hurting you in possession. But I don't think in the last two games he has hurt us in possession. In fact, I thought he was actually quite good and was able to hold up the ball and actually found some good areas. And it's actually now starting to reach the stage, I think, with Sonny, where I think he's playing well enough and he's just getting so unlucky, in fact, because he's hit the bar, he's hit the woodwork. He's had just a deflection go the wrong way. He's had some good saves, I think, from keepers as well. So now at this stage, it's just he is playing well. He's just getting a bit unlucky. So I personally am in the position you stick by him, but I don't know, Dave. We're running out of excuses, I think. And with how good Richarlison is playing, Richarlison has reached sort of undroppable form. And that's what makes this debate, I think, even more fascinating. Is like Richarlison is at sort of undroppable levels of form where Son just simply isn't.
Do you know what? Look, for me, I hear the same things with about Harry Kane last season, even to what you said there, Jacko, about, we're running out of excuses for him now. I heard that so many times about Harry Kane last season as well. Look, for me, I think it's a huge gamble to drop a player of his quality. A guy that can go and snatch a game at any given moment. I think it's a huge gamble as well. What I will say, though, is I do look at some of the stuff Son is doing. I do think he's being affected in terms of him not having that goal. I do think it is getting to him a little bit because there's times where he could have squared the ball to Harry Kane for a tap-in. He's refused to do it. There's times he could have played others in behind. He didn't do it. Famous example against Marseille. We had a 4-on-3 and he just ended up losing the ball. He didn't play any of our players in whatsoever. So I do think that not scoring that goal is weighing on him a little bit and is probably affecting his decision-making, that's when that starts to become a worry then, in my opinion, when he's not doing the same things he was doing last season, like that telepathic communication with Kane, playing other players in. When you start to become that selfish player because you're so desperate for a goal, that's where I think if he does that again tonight, I think then maybe you could look at dropping him out, putting him on the bench all week, showing him what he was good at last season, etc., on highlight reels, and then getting back in. But, I don't know what you think, Kuva. Do you see that creeping into Son's game where he's not doing some of the same stuff he was doing last season and that maybe he does need to be rested to be given a bit of a kick up the hole?
I agree. He's been playing better in the last few games. So against Fulham, I thought he was really unlucky not to score that little toe poke onto the bar again. That would have been just both brilliant for Kane and Sonny. It would have been what we've seen over the last couple of seasons all over again. It's kind of difficult to put your finger on why things aren't happening at times. Has the introduction of the likes of Perisic affected his game? Because Perisic gets on the pitch and just goes, hell with this, I'm bombing forward. And then he's in Sonny's territory, isn't he? Does it affect his gameplay? Does Sonny then have to sort of track back a little bit more and hold the shape of the team? Possibly. The chemistry's changed somehow around that left wing from what it used to be. Also, the change of management style and the way that it's playing, it's not quite what we saw under Mourinho, where we were almost entirely dependent on Kane getting the ball and flipping it over the top for Sonny. Yeah. You take that away from the team, though, that's a potent weapon that we have. Sonny's raw pace and the ability to finish. Either of those missing from the team, we start feeling it until Richarlison comes along. We can replace some of the goals, but you don't have that electric pace down on the left. That's it comes down to goals with Sonny, doesn't it? It's the one thing. He can have a quiet game because he's being the furthest man forward. He's looking to get in behind the defence, so he doesn't take part in a lot of the game. He will go large periods of the game without touching the ball because he's just waiting for that opportunity. He is the sort of nuclear warhead we have. It's the unstoppable thing that he can do that he's destroyed teams with many times. Sorry, excuse me, got a cough going again. I think we just have to be patient with Sonny. It will come. The player's not changed. It's just I don't even think it's so much a confidence thing with him. I think it's just certain things are not coming off, and that like I said with the Perisic thing, has that now made him take on more responsibilities in teamwork because we are seeing him getting more and more involved in the build-ups now.
Yeah,
it used to be just a couple of touches in and around the box, or the breakaway that he'd squared for somebody else to get an assist or somebody like that. It's an evolution of the team. All have to get used to it. I mean, same with Kane. Kane used to be out-and-out goal scorer for us. Now he's a lot more than that. Are we seeing this little bit of difference with Sonny now? It won't matter as soon as those goals start going in again. I think Philip said it right. Just needs to come off any part of his body to go in.
Yeah,
I agree with that. I think that doesn't happen with Sonny, though, does it? It'll be a majestic sweeping strike to the far corner with lots of curl on it, and everybody goes, "Wow, what a goal!" That's stunning. Yeah.
Do you know what, Phil or Kuva? I fully agree with you. I've alluded to this before about, if you look back at a lot of Sonny's goals down the last few years, a lot of them have been made from running, especially last season, running in behind, being that focal point, being that last man forward, getting that runs in behind and taking time to pick his finish. Plus, when he picks up the ball out wide and he's cutting in, he's unstoppable. This season, like you alluded to, with Perisic bombing forward down that side, he doesn't have that space. And he's also, it looks like to me, he's being asked to come and be more involved in the build-up play than what he was last season. And that's where he's struggling. That's where he's losing the ball a lot, is in the physical battles. Now, I agree with what Jack was saying, and I think he has improved over the last few games. But I think he's just slowly starting to adapt to maybe something different that maybe Conte is asking him to do. But at the end of the day, sometimes you have to sacrifice yourself for the team, and that's just the way it is. But like Philip said, he just needs that goal. Hopefully it comes off the end of the schlong. And, it's back to the Sonny we know. That'd be absolutely unbelievable. Now, I do have one more talking point I want to get onto before we end it off. Dark Sun G says, back then we had to use Giovanni Lo Celso, Winks, Tanguy, Sissoko. I mean, it's that far back. I forgot about him. Thank God I have. There's nothing worse than seeing a professional footballer who can't control a football or pass a football 5 yards, and you can go down to the AstroTurf. No, but what's worse is you can go down to the AstroTurf and find players 10 a penny that can have the basics of being a footballer. So how this guy ever got a contract, I do not know. Stevie, Vinicius, again, another one. Bobo, fuck me, Jesus Christ. Davies for Zagreb, also Moura and Vitesse was the same listed players. Vinicius, Bobo, Sissoko. Also, we had Jose Nuno, way better team now. And I think that's in reply to what Sammy was saying earlier on. I think you're absolutely spot on. I mean, even just look at in terms of how far we've come in terms of business, in my opinion. We got in Carlos Vinicius on a loan deal with 30 million option to buy. This time around we said, fuck that, we're bringing Richarlison. Bobo's gone, ripped up the contract, made a statement there. Stevie, bad attitude, off you go. And I don't care that he's out there performing for Ajax. Put me in that Ajax team. I'd perform out there in the Dutch league. And I think he's just reaffirming my point that we're in such a better position now in terms of squad mentality, playing style, management, etc., etc. So you're absolutely spot on.
Look at all the midfielders we got rid of, Dave. look at, I mean, that's 4 midfielders, I believe, that in there, unless 3, maybe. I think it's 3 midfielders that we got rid of in there. That is, yeah, that is, or yeah, 4, in fact. Yeah, that is kind of scary to think about. In fact, what makes us such a better team now, Darks and G, is just the fact that we have such better players to rotate in the midfield, I think, for these sort of games now. Where in the past, we had to risk it with Winks and Lo Celso as like a midfield pairing and see how it goes. And now we no longer have to do that anymore. Thank God.
Thank God.
Plus the fact Vinicius was quoted to us at 30 million. They wanted 30 million for him. Fulham bought him for 3.5 million.
But that's Steve Hitchens' business mind for you, absolutely. Yeah. That guy was such a melt. It was unbelievable. It was unbelievable. I'll be exposing him later on in the season anyway. Don't worry about that.
I didn't think he was that bad. It's just it didn't fit up what we're trying to do at all.
Do you know
totally
what
different sort of player.
Do you know what it was? Just quickly, Vinicius. Look, he scored 1 goal in the Premier League and it was 4 yards out. I mean, if he missed that, I would have went berserk. But do you know what it was? He just wasn't what we needed. He just wasn't good.
Exactly. Yeah.
Nowhere near the level.
So it's like when we signed Soldado for AVB and then played him up front by himself. It made no sense.
At least that guy had a bit of a reputation when we signed him. Carlos Vinicius, everyone was like, who the fuck's this guy? Only Jack knew who he was. I went to Jack. I was like, you ever heard of this idiot? And he's like, yeah, man. He's a journeyman in Portugal. I was like, oh, Jesus Christ. But anyway, thank God, times are better is what I would say, Being a Spurs supporter back then was like being in a recession. It was absolutely hard. Moondog says, come on, Dyer bet is on for tonight and Bentancur. Absolutely love it. No, you got it wrong, though, Moondog. It's Højbjerg and Dyer. That's where you got to put the money on tonight, my man. Big yourself up. And I have a good feeling one of them will bring in your bet, brother. Big yourself
Those Dyer
up.
bets are like a drug for him. People were mentioning Eric Dyer too much on the fan show last night, Dave, and then Moondog came in with a super chat saying the Dyer bet is on, and I was telling everybody to stop mentioning Dyer's name. It's like a drug for Moondog. He can't help himself. We're trying to get him off the Dyer bets.
Yeah, it is. It is. Absolutely love it. But Moondog, I mean, you can't resist one more. That's what they all say. One more, but go for it, my man. And Michael Hellman's new YouTube member. Welcome, my man. Hopefully we see you every Monday or Friday for a fan show. Come on and have your say with myself and Jacko, my man. Big yourself up and really appreciate the support, brother. Top man. But look, last thing I want to get into is basically, while Sporting Lisbon do have some tricky creative players, it is their defence where there's major question marks. Like I alluded to earlier on, there's a few injuries. A couple of players limped off at the weekend as well. But they've also conceded the 5th most goals in the Premier League and conceded 11 home goals in the Champions League last season, which suggests their defence can be vulnerable. So is tonight all about being patient like we were in the second half versus Marseille, rather than the way we were in the first half, which was frantic, trying to go out there with a point to prove? And we'll start with you on this one, Philip.
Listen, as I said earlier, the Sporting Lisbon defence has never played against a forward line they're going to face tonight. So I would say they're quite nervous. I think we need to go out and start, control the game. Don't concede possession or territory to them. Like they're the home team. They will try and impose themselves on us. We should be good enough to fend that off in the first 10 minutes, then take control of the game and start controlling the pace of the game and making them sit back and defend. Now, whether that's going to happen or not, I do not know, because Conte seems to like the counter-attacking scenario. But I think when you're playing a team that isn't as good as us, basically, we should be going out there trying to impose ourselves from minute one and get a couple of goals in the first half and relax. I'm hoping that's going to happen tonight. It's going to happen at some stage in the season. Better tonight to start with, because let's face it, I for one don't want to go to the game on Saturday and see Leicester coming at us. I want to see us getting at them from the start, and it should be the same tonight. So let's hope that's what happens, and a little bit more. What's the word I'm looking for? A little to impose ourselves on the game earlier.
Yeah.
Don't be waiting for things to happen. That we need to impose ourselves on the game. Go for the jugular from the start, and if we go ahead, we should be good enough to hold out and beat this lot tonight.
I couldn't agree more. Kuv, anything you want to add off to the back of what Philip has to say there before we go around and get score predictions and shit?
Nah, pretty much spot on. When you say except for the one thing that's been said, like Sporting haven't faced a sort of firepower before. Last season they did have Man City in their group. I think
I'm talking about this season actually, because there's a few changes at the back. You know.
Yeah, there is. I think the most important bit, as David said earlier, they got a lot of injuries at the moment as well, and a lot of those injured players are defence, so they're going to be struggling at best. I think it's just an opportunity, isn't it? We should be going there and taking the game to them, really.
Couldn't agree more. I just want to see a nice cohesive performance today. I want to see that front line finally click as well. I think once it does, we're going to be absolutely devastating, and teams will fear coming up against us. And Moondog says, would be cheaper, Jack, if he was actually on drugs, by the way.
I was trying to say to him in the comments, I think the high that you probably get, though, when you have that that dire bet come through, though, it's probably the sweetest high in the world. You wouldn't find a drug on the market, Moondog, to be able to replace that moon boots high, especially when he hits that rocket from 30 yards. I mean, it's just the ultimate feeling in the world. I bet you levitate.
Well, there's no better high than watching Tottenham in the Champions League, which we're doing.
There you go, Dave. Exactly.
Very cosmic theme to that, isn't there? Moon boots, rocket, out of this world.
Psychedelic moon boots.
Moondog. That's probably why he bets on moon boots straight away. There's moons in their names. Absolutely love it. But honestly, no better time than sitting here watching Tottenham in the Champions League, guys. Hopefully we've killed a few hours for you guys at home. Got you through the day, because I, for one, was sitting there, just like, fucking bring the game around. I'm too pumped. I'm willing to break things. I'm that pumped. So thank God these shows can give me that outlet, to get myself pumped up in what most people would say is a normal manner. Hopefully it's the same for you guys out there. But look, we're going to go around, everybody. We're going to get score predictions and let everybody plug their channels, guys. And on your way out, the guys viewing in, if you kindly smash the like button and the subscribe button, it'd be greatly awesome and helpful. And if you have enjoyed today's show, feel free to send in a super chat and just, say whatever. Great panel, great show, guys, whatever. But look, we'll start with Mr. Brady. Mr. Brady, what's coming up on THFC Till I Die? And what's your score prediction, my man?
TFC doing a watch along this evening and a post-match analysis tomorrow evening, and showing the old game as well, just to get in the mood. And to actually, we showed a game there on Saturday there instead of the Man City game. We showed the Man City replay in 1981. So things like that. The score 2-1 to Spurs, tight game, but we'll win it 2-1.
No, absolutely love that. Absolutely love it. Everybody do get over and check out THFC Till I Die, everybody. Absolute brilliant channel. Two good men involved in it, along with Ellie as well. Another woman that's very infectious with her passionate support for Tottenham. So get over there and check that out. Geoff says, hey Dave, remember about watching the two flies? How did you go? Jog my memory, my man. Jog my memory. I can't even remember what that's about. Re-jog my memory and let me know, brother. Kuva, what channel are you deciding you want to big up today, and what's your score prediction, my man?
Big list or small list? No. Let's just get. I'll stick with 3 Spurs.
Wherever you're next.
Well, the only one for definite I'll be on next will be on Saturday, Bob Spur TV, the In the Wall crazy show for not for children. Yeah, that's the craziness. It's the wind down at the end of the week. We're just sort of cut loose. Consider it like people just coming back from the pub who don't want to go to bed yet and misbehaving. That's generally that show.
Fair enough. Well, everybody do get over there and check it out, providing you're over, I'd say 60.
60, yeah. 60. 60.
Kind of, you're at an age, I reckon, but to be able to
score prediction as well. I'm getting more and more confident as we're going along. I started off thinking we might lose this one because it's like typical sort of away game in Europe. We're not playing well, but the longer the time's gone on, the more confident I'm getting. They're in disarray with injuries. They're not good at keeping clean sheets anyway. And Richarlison's on fire. I'll just got this feeling about him getting a couple today, Sonny getting a couple, and us romping home 4-0.
Ooh, 4-0, absolutely love it. We know what Coover would be singing at full time. Your defense is terrified with Richarlison's on fire. Absolutely love it. And Jacko, I mean, where can people find you, brother? And what's your score prediction?
Think a Flat Cap stream is going to be coming up at some stage this week, probably with the lovely Darius and Kieran discussing probably plenty of things regarding maybe the Champions League this time, since we've haven't had actually much Premier League to talk about. But yeah, look out for a Flat Cap. Been a while since something's gone up on there, so hopefully you guys will enjoy it, and I think it will be a good one as well, since we've had a bit of a hiatus there. As well, I think since we do have the Leicester game coming up as well, please check out the Stats with Jack. We'll be back this week for the Premier League, since it is kind of a Premier League sort of kind of show as well. And I think we also have the podcast that's going to be coming out this week again too. So everybody, if you haven't, look us up on Spotify.
100%. Get over there and check it out. And as well, Boys in Green will be kicking off this week as well. I think it's myself, Philip, Dermatron, Ollie, and Anthony Ferrin as well. So make sure you stay tuned for that. I've put the link in here for the Flat Cap Euro Talk as well, because Jack's too modest to do it for himself. So there you are, guys. Check that out. Joff, I remember what you were saying now. So yeah, I put up a post at the weekend saying, someone give me some games to watch quickly, because, the missus is making me to do jobs. But Joff, imagine, I had to do housework. I mean, what's going on in the world, lad? When you're seeing me having to do a bit of housework rather than sitting here and do what I do best, which is talk about Tottenham. So I kind of got around it. Like, look, I had to sacrifice 20% of myself to get 20% of the list done. But then I pretended I had to do a bit of scouting for Jack for Flat Cap Euro Talk, so I got to watch Bayern and whoever they were playing. And then there was some other game I watched as well. Again, I pretended I had to do scouting for the IrishHotspur as well. I think it was Destiny or Doherty. So, yeah, I had a grand weekend, my man. Grand weekend. I got away with 80% of it. And that's what it was all about at the end there. As soon as I heard the games were cancelled, my head dropped. I was like, I know what's happening. There's a list coming my way. So already my brain got thinking, how can I get out of this? And I came up with some genius ways. But if anybody has any more, send them in and I'll use them next time. And I'll also go one better and I'll let you know if they work so that you guys can use them. I can't be more fair than that. But guys, we are going to end off here now. Watch Along is starting at 5:15. Make sure you get in here for it. Myself and Jack, with Philip and Nick making appearances at halftime and full time as well. So we'll see you then. My score prediction, I'm going to join Kuva. I'm going to go 4-0 today. I'm going to go Big Harry Kane with 2. I'm going to go Sonny with 1. No, sorry, I'm going to go Kane with 2, Sonny with 1, and I'm going to go Pierre Emile Brick House.
Love that. I forgot to give mine 2-0. I think I said it in the beginning, but 2-0.
What I will say is, look, Jack, I think yours is more than likely coming in, because we have averaged only 2 goals a game over our last 6 games, and Sporting are off the back of keeping clean 3 sheets. But there is potential for mine and Kuva's scoreline to happen, because they have been slapped by Porto this year and other teams. So
definitely.
It'll be interesting to see which way it goes. And then we've got this from the Truth Sets You Free, and then we'll be ending off. He says, David, after you finish your second laundry load, give me that score prediction. Do you use a duster now? Love you guys on screen. God bless. What do you mean a duster, my man? I don't get what you mean.
But do you use a duster now? I'm not sure actually when it comes to the laundry machine. Maybe something having to do with the filter.
Do I use a duster to clean around the place? No, lad. No, you won't catch me with that, my man. Never. I do like putting up shelves. If you're lucky, I'll do a bit of hoovering. But you won't see me going around with the duster. No, that's not my job, my man. I have bigger priorities. I have bigger fish to fry than doing the duster. I do have certain jobs, and I stick to my list, my man. But yeah, no, I definitely don't use the duster, my man. And
don't trust him to do the dishes, then. Truth. It sounds like he won't be doing the dishes.
No, I do the dishes. I don't do the laundry. She takes care of the laundry, and I take care of all the dishes, no matter who cooks. So okay. I think what we kind of do is try to go 50-50. But sometimes that probably ends up about 90%.
He's not dusting the house either, Truth. Looks like, I don't know, he's dodging plenty of chores here, Truth. He's dodging plenty of chores.
And by the way, I know it sounds like I'm coming across that my house is not clean. First of all, it's not a house, it's an apartment. It is clean. don't get me wrong, it's clean, but I do leave most of the work. But I do all the other jobs. I do all the heavy jobs and stuff like that. But big up Truth Set You Free. But anyway, we're going off completely into separate topics. Guys, go and enjoy yourself. Get a sandwich into you. Get the beers into the fridge. We'll see you back here at 5:15. It's the mighty Tottenham Hotspur. Destroy Sporting in Lisbon. As someone said earlier, we're going to take the Sporting out of Lisbon. Come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.
We trust.
Come on, you Spurs.
And if David sinks down any lower, you'll start seeing the carpet.
I got a new chair. I drafted a new one in. Just quickly, one more in here from Truth Set You Free that I missed. He says, our godson passed in a plane crash on news in Santa Monica. He was an angel. Win for him. I was a mentor to him, like a brother to me. I'm very, very sorry to hear that. Truth Set You Free, my man. I hope you're okay. Look, very hard. Godson's so young as well. Look, it's hard times, my man. Look, I think we'll all agree, the Irish Hotspur Army will all keep him in our thoughts and prayers. Say a prayer for him, light a candle and stuff like that, my man. Look, if you want to chat, my email is, or my things are below, social medias, everything else. Feel free to get in contact, my man. You must be going through a hard time, and I'm really sorry to hear that, brother.
That's heartbreaking, Truth. That's really horrible.
But get in contact, my man, and we'll have a conversation.
Yeah, feel free to get in contact, Truth, and hopefully we get the win for him. But there are bigger things in football at the end of the day, Truth. Much bigger things than football. But hopefully we do get that win, maybe just to make the day at least a little bit better, make the day a little bit brighter. Big up, brother.
100%. Tottenham will do the business today for you, my man. Guys, we'll see you very, very soon. Big up.